Good evening and welcome to the penultimate round of Season 9 of the Creator Series. You're tuning in to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And whilst it has been a dominating season, the name at the top changed last time around in Bahrain. Formula Karim was the hunter, now he's going to be the hunted, but can anyone catch him? With 2 weekends to go, all is to play for. It's the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix tonight, but I won't be alone. I am joined in the commentary box. Leading the comms, it is Tom Wilkinson. Tom, welcome. It's going to be an exciting race.
100%. A lot at stake going into this one. Second to last time we'll be racing, not just in Season 9, but on F1 24 as well. A lot at stake, like I said. 2 points separating our leading during the championship.
Yeah, so it's Ben versus Karim. It's Team at Marduk versus Karim, but we've got Meraki also with an outside chance as well. But between those two up at the top, of course, Ben has been leading the way since Season 8 opening round, where Razin Shai was leading the championship way back then. Between these two, would you say it's consistency versus pace? Whilst Ben maybe doesn't have the pace, the raw pace that Karim has been showing this season, he's been throwing in those consistent results.
100%. I think Kareem's been a little bit more up and down. The only counter to that would be he's won 4 of the last 5 races. So if he didn't have consistency before, he's definitely got it now. His pace in Bahrain a week ago was absolutely outstanding. Ben couldn't really hold a candle to him, and that's the first time I would say this season that Ben's been significantly slower than Kareem over a weekend. So it might change here. Ben hasn't got the best of records around Jeddah. It's actually the first time we're coming here on F1 24 as well. So an added little bit of spice, a different dynamic to try and deal with. But I think that's the best way to try and analyse the situation. Consistency versus outright pace.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you touched on it. It was a great point. Tides have truly turned between the two of them because you mentioned it there. 4 wins out of the last 5 races that we've done. The only one he missed out on was Japan, where he had a little bit of a shock. Only 8 points taken from that one. But that consistency is always there from Tiamat Marduk. And the difference, I think, between these two drivers is Ben's been there. He's done it before. Karim, this is his first season in Formula 1. He's still learning how to deal when you come up to drivers who are not going to be on the pace of you. It's not like your usual bog standard league races where everybody is pretty much only a few thousandths, few hundredths between each other. This is, you could see, second gaps between drivers, as you know, I have experience being more towards the back of the grid. And that is what Ben, I think, knows, and that's why the consistency plays into it. But Karim has certainly been picking up on that and getting better throughout the season. We mentioned him earlier, Meraki's got an outside chance. GB, technically, mathematically speaking, is still in a shot for the championship, but he's going to be missing the final round, the Mystery Grand Prix next week. So he is out of the championship hunt, but Meraki. And if there's anybody to, have a strong race here at Saudi, it is Meraki. He's finished the last 3 races and the only 3 races we've done at Saudi Arabia. He's finished on the podium every single time. So, Meraki, what are his chances going into this race today?
Historically, it looks pretty good. It's only him and Alex Gillen that have got truly remarkable records at this track. But he's got his own couple of gremlins that he's going to have to try and get over. Hasn't won a race so far this season. In the last couple of weeks, hasn't qualified inside the top 10. Hasn't qualified inside the top 10. Obviously, we had the switcheroo with the teammates in Japan a couple of weeks ago, which changed things up a little bit. But 11th and 12th, he's going to have to find a way to right those wrongs. If he does, then he's going to be a serious contender.
Right, let's get into the wild card for this race weekend. I know a lot of you at home are asking, what is it? What are the drivers going to have to be doing today? What's going to be changing? The wild card for this race weekend is going to be fixed setups. All of the drivers, as they get into the race weekend, have to select the balanced setup in the presets. Number 3, they're not allowed to change the wing angle at all throughout the entirety of the race weekend, but they can change their differential and their brake bias. Fixed setup produces, I think, a lot more understeer in the game, Tom. How are these drivers going to cope with that?
I mean, we can both probably speak from experience, yourself slightly more than me, but the default setup isn't ideal. I think this game, it's been pretty decent, but in past games, I think it would have more of a significant effect. It will be a nice little bit of a leveler as well, bring people slightly back onto a level playing field. I think, like you said, understeer is going to be the name of the game. This handling model is an interesting one. I think it will induce it a lot. There are some drivers that we've seen are very able to deal with the understeer. We know that Formula Cream drives a little bit like Fernando Alonso back in the Renault days, really likes to crank that steering lock on. So I'll be interested to see how he deals with it, especially with the added pressure of leading the championship. But at the end of the day, I would still expect the cream to rise to the crop.
Looking
to
further
the
down the
top.
field, as those drivers who will potentially be able to gain from this, the ones who are, leading the Destructors Championship, you're looking at F1 Alex, you're looking at Dale, those who have got the most DNFs of the season. Alex has got 7, Dale's got 4. With the car being more stable because of the fixed setup, surely this is going to help those two and maybe some of the other drivers lower down the field who maybe haven't had the whole week to practice, unlike others, to be on a more even, balanced playing field.
Definitely. It's a much more benign setup. A lot of people are able to use it, and I think it will take that added element of sort of on the limit. These cars at some stage can be quite on the knife edge. We see in real life that these versions of F1 cars, the ground effect ones, are very much on a knife edge, and you've got to be the best of the best to try and deal with that. We see Formula Korean can drive on the edge very, very well. Team at Malik, Alex Gillen, another one of them. But for those guys, it's going to be reined in a little bit, and for somebody like Dale, this could be a really good opportunity because he's taken part in all 3 of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, I believe, and is yet to reach the checkered flag.
2 people who will be frustrated, though, with this fixed setup. I saw in the cool-down room the other day, there was an image shared from Meraki of a certain Tiamat Marduk and Formula Karim at 3 a.m. in the morning, running at Jeddah, doing practice on Friday night, with a esports driver, Brendan Lee, in there as well. Now, I'm not there. I don't know whether he was giving them tips or giving them hints or maybe tweaking setups, but those two have put in that much effort and that much practice, which, of course, they're both fighting for the championship. They're both going to be seeing this wildcard and thinking, all that time and effort I put into that has gone to waste.
I like to think that this wildcard was a late change. Somebody in the Creator Series management saw that and out of spite has gone, you know what? We're going to take that advantage away. We want to keep this as exciting as possible. We're going to take away your esports setup, so you're going to have to run the default. So I'm a big fan of it.
Right, let's get into the driver lineups for this race weekend. For the first time ever, we have nearly had we've had every full-time driver involved in the race weekend because, of course, I am a full-time driver. I am here, but I'm not racing. So I've let the side down, and my seat has gone over to Melanie J&D, so she's going to be replacing me. But other than that, every single full-time driver is on the grid. Melanie's going to be the first, her first race since Belgium in Season 1, and the first woman to take part in Creator Series F1 since Jessica Bull in Season 8 at Qatar. So for Melanie, I think this is a perfect wild card to go into this weekend because you don't have to put in all the work throughout the week because the reserves, they only find out, one day before. So they have one day really to get things going. And maybe if she doesn't have the right setup or doesn't feel comfortable with the car, it's on a complete balanced playing field with everybody else. The car is completely stable as well. So this is brilliant for her.
100%. And I think the nice thing about coming in as a reserve as well is you don't have a lot of pressure on your shoulders to try and perform to the highest level. You can come in, enjoy it. The racing's going to be tight. The racing's going to be enjoyable as well, especially in that midfield battle. Incredibly, incredibly tight. We've seen it so many times this season. So I think she'll enjoy it. And obviously, like you said, the leveler of having the default setups will just congest the pack that little bit more.
I am getting word that all the drivers are in the lobby, so we'll be getting going with qualifying very, very soon. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about constructors, because there is another championship that is being fought for and is very open at the moment. 2 points again separated at the top between Mercedes and McLaren, and then only 7 points behind is Aston Martin. So it's looking like a 3-horse race, as you can see that we're loading into the team standings here, on the right-hand side. So that's all the points that you can see. Also, you've got Visa Cash App RB, with an outside chance. And if there's any team that you could put some money on for the outside chance, it's got to be that RB team, because they've got Alex Gillen and Zafso, who's been really, piling up the pace since Japan. Could they come in for a late charge?
I think it's unlikely. We thought at the start of the season that was potentially going to be the dream duo. 2 champions, the first 2 champions of the Creator Series, and actually one of 2 all-championship winning driver lines that we've got. Obviously Alpine with Razin and Tom in there as well, but they're obviously down in 7th. Haven't seen too much of Tom this season, but it's going to be a long shot. I'm surprised as well at the form of the Aston Martin duo. They haven't been particularly good in recent weeks. Just they came into this as back-to-back Constructors Championships. GB only with 1 podium in the last 4 races, considering how consistent he was at the start of the season. That's going to be a little bit disappointing. And also Vince has just seen a little bit of a tail off, in particular in qualifying over the last few weeks. So if they can rectify that, at least for this week, obviously GB not going to be here in a week's time, there's definitely a huge opportunity for the Green Machines.
Well, it's because they keep on taking each other out, of course. You know,
That's
remember
true.
back to Silverstone, Vince DNF from that one, Bahrain last week as well. The two of them came together. So they'll be hoping to avoid each other as much as possible whilst both of them are near the front of the grid. But I think, you know, with the battle at the top, you've obviously got the top two separated by 2 points. It's not necessarily going to come down too much between Karim and Ben whilst they are really carrying both teams, but they're going to be really trying to push their teammates Adam Sanderson and Nick Flies to maximize these last 2 race weekends to get the best out of it and potentially take home the victory, which we have seen so many times in the history of Creator Series, where one driver who's dominated the Drivers' Championship has carried another one. Look at Ferrari when they won it with Tiamat Marduk and Infrati. You know, Ben's back has really been struggling over the years, but we've got to say that for those two, they're the ones that, you know, they're going to be piling on the pressure for both Adam and Nick Flies. And there is the drivers' standings right now if you want to have a look at the points at home.
I think for the teammates, they've actually improved quite a lot over the season. We've seen Adam Sanderson's had real flashes of performance. Remember back to Spa, I think he could have probably finished comfortably inside the top 10, maybe the top 5, but that might have been a bit of a long shot. And then Nick Flies, a few weeks ago in China, we gave him driver of the day because he was absolutely outstanding. He was inside the top 10 for the sprint and the feature race for, I think, 99% of it. So really coming on leaps and bounds, those two. And I think, like you said, they're going to be the difference maker. If one of those two have a bit of a stinker, you know, we can rely on Karim and Tiamat Marduk to be at worst inside the top 5. GB and Vince should be in and around the top 10. Both of them, GB's form not great coming into it, but he should still be comfortably in the top half. I think it will be down to whether Nick or Adam can try and get the best of one another.
One driver who's going to be out of this Drivers' Championship hunt, Alex Gillen. Now he's got really nothing to lose in this championship. And we know that he loves to go for it. You know, if he's there, he's going to announce that he's there and he's going to demand room left by other drivers. So now he's got that attitude where there is, you know, there's nothing left to lose. I don't have to really think about the championship hunt anymore. Well, I suppose the constructors, and he'll probably definitely want to try and work on that together with Zafso to take that home. But he's going to be really pushing in these final 2 races, especially after coming off the back of taking part in PSGL in the middle of the week, thinking that he can get top 10 against those drivers there, and then, yeah, getting a drive through at the start for jumping the start. He'll be looking not to do that this weekend.
He will not. Yeah, that wasn't the ideal start. His pace was actually pretty decent, but yeah, just fumbled the bag immediately, which wasn't ideal. I actually put Alex as my favourite going into this, to be honest. Never started lower than 5th in his 3 races. Never finished lower than 4th. It's a track that seems to suit him really nicely, that flowing middle sector, and also the flowing first sector, you could say as well. Seems to really suit the Alex Gillen driving style, so I would put him straight away as the favourite. Yeah,
both him and Meraki have got, as you said earlier, have got fantastic records around this circuit. One driver who I think has had a very promising season, and of course it is his first full-time season in Creator Series, is Formula Kai, and I think he showed some real glimpses of pace. But just like Karim, it's that learning in Creator Series. It's not like league racing. You can't just sit behind another driver and know exactly what they're going to do. You're going to come up against me at some point, or Adam Sanderson, or Scott Taylor, and they're going to break slightly earlier than you expect, and you've got to be ready to judge that. And for Formula Kai, another driver who potentially we can see up at the top here in qualifying.
I think he's got a really bright future, of course, if he sticks around. I've done a bit of number crunching, and out of all the full-time drivers, he actually has the second best average qualifying position of what I believe is 4.29. Formula Cream top with 4.27. So over 1 lap, there's absolutely no questioning his abilities. Exceptional. I think the racers have improved. Got a podium in Bahrain a week ago, Bahrain race number 1. Also came second, missed out on his first ever win at Silverstone a few weeks ago on the last lap to Tiamat Marduk. So I think that race pace is coming. And like I said, it's all about experience, consistency, building that up. Formula Cream has had that learning curve as well. I think he managed to get over it a little bit quicker in the season. But I think Kai, you know, going on to the next game, if he does stick around, is going to be a serious, serious contender.
We've got drivers out on track here for Q1 in qualifying at Saudi Arabia. If you're new to the Creed Series, first of all, welcome. It's great to have you. You might be asking yourself, why are the drivers on intermediates? It doesn't look like it's raining, especially in a place like Saudi Arabia. Well, here at the Creator Series, we award an extra point in the first few minutes of Q1 for the fastest driver on intermediate tyres. They have until 12 minutes remaining on the clock to get their lap time in to qualify for that 1 point as well. So that's what these drivers are doing right now. They're all out on intermediate tyres. They're trying to push the best lap times that they possibly can. But as we get into qualifying, Tom, I'm going to let you lead the commentary.
Yeah, and that 1 point, as we've seen so many times in the Creator Series history, is going to be incredibly important. And with the Drivers' Championship separated by 2 points, and the top 3 in the Constructors separated by, 7 points, yeah, they're going to need to make the most of these intermediate pole times. Safso is usually the first out to give it a bit of a bash, and entering the final corner now. It's going to be interesting to see if he can try and qualify a little bit better, I think is the word of wisdom I would give Safso. Qualified 7th last week in Bahrain, but other than that, I think he's only been inside the top 10 once, which was round 1, all the way back in Kota, nearly 10 weeks ago, diving down into the first chicane. Saw lots of lines through this complex in real life, struggling a little bit for traction on the exit as well, but taking the curbs nicely and coming up into Lando Norris corner, as we found out in qualifying. Do not try and drive at 105% here at Saudi Arabia, because it will bite you in the behind. And as we say that, I think Razin Chai has thrown it into the wall somewhere in the middle sector.
Yeah, I don't know if he's honouring me and doing the Hayden Guy strategy of starting at the back for the race, but Razin Shai out, so it's all going to be onto the other Alpine of Tom, who's going to be leading the way for Alpine for the rest of this qualifying session. Going back to Zaf, so a disappointing race weekend for him in Japan. So he'll be looking to bounce back for that. But since Japan, really, he's been putting in the practice, putting in the effort with Alex Gillen, and I think Bahrain, whilst maybe the results didn't quite show the performance that he had, I think he definitely took a step up, and we'll be looking to see whether he can take another step up this weekend. And actually celebrated his 100th race weekend last time out at Bahrain as well. The driver who's done the most races of anybody else in Creator Series. So well done there to Zaf. So as we're watching on board with Tom, who is completely ignoring the intermediate championship, but he wants to get a marker in straight away as early as possible on the softs.
I think probably still trying to just get himself fully up to speed in that epic sim rig that he has built himself over the last couple of weeks and months. Safsa with a 31.4, the benchmark time on the Inters, I imagine on the Inters as well. 6/10 shy in Formula Kai, 4.5 off the back. This should be fastest for Tom Biener. If it's not, he should be considerably concerned, but that is a 29.3. Decent lap early on, should be seeing drivers comfortably in the 28s come the end of our 18-minute qualifying session. Should be getting 3 runs. We will have a lobby restart as well, so if you want to try and use all of your 3 sets of soft tyres, you can do that as you so please, and you will get them all delivered back to you into your pockets for the main race. Meraki taking intermediate pole away from Safso by 700ths of a second, both on a 31.4. But what can the reigning champion, but no longer the championship leader, manage? Tim McMahon through the final corner turn, 27, count them up as we go around this Jeddah Corniche circuit. Going to get a nice little bit of slipstream, double slipstream in fact, from the Ferrari and Aston Martin. GB up into 5th, Tim Marduk is 2nd with the fastest intermediate time by just over a 10th of a second.
We'll be saying a huge thank you to that Aston Martin and Ferrari driver there, because that massively helped him out. That double DRS and slipstream through the last 2 straights would have been a huge benefit for him to go for the intermediate pole position point. 1 minute remaining left on that one. 1 minute for the drivers to get their times in. F1 Alex shoots to the top of the standings, and a driver who potentially this wildcard is going to benefit with them all being on a fixed setup, as Nick Flies puts himself into 2nd place. Former Karim, where's he going to put himself on intermediates? It's not very high up. It's only, whereas P9 in the standings is about 5th in terms of intermediate runners. So I would say maybe a little bit disappointing there from Formula Karim.
Yeah, only 3.5 tenths down on Ben, but with 3 cars in between himself and his main championship rival. Yellow flag coming up to the final corner, but I think that's just one of the Red Bulls backing off to try and let somebody go. And this could halve the gap at the top of the championship standings from 2 points in Kareem's favour to just the 1 solitary point in the favour of the Papaya McLaren car. Datkovich trying to do his bit for Aston Martin's Constructors' Championship push. GB is 4th fastest of the intermediate runs. We've had 4 times also on the softs as well. And F1 Alex, like you said, leading the way, only driver in the 1 minute 28. It would be harsh to call him a street circuit merchant as the clock ticks down, and Vince has actually missed out there on the intermediate pole time. He's going to come across the line anyway, but maybe just getting his timing slightly wrong. But yeah, F1 Alex actually made Q3 back in Monaco, which I think was round number 3 of the season. So some very decent pace at street circuits, and obviously this leveler is going to bring him back to the forefront as well. And this could be an opportunity for him to pick up some very needed championship points.
Timo Malu takes the intermediate point for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. That puts the gap between Timo Marduk and Formula Krim now down to 1 point between the two of them. And it also extends the Constructors' Championship now 3 points between the two teams. So every point is going to count for this season. Every point is going to be vital, especially with such small margins between everyone with 2 race weekends to go. So that is going to be massive for Team M Marduk going into the rest of the weekend. Infratic, though, puts himself up in the top as we now look towards the dry times and seeing who will make themselves into the top 15 and get into Q2.
Yeah, really good middle sector from Fabio. That was really the difference maker between himself and the group behind Ricky 03 and Nick Flies, returning after a week out, jumping into what is now 3rd and 4th respectively. Dave, don't know why I call him Dave. Dale with a very competitive middle sector as well, but not particularly quick in the first sector, and that is why he is now residing down in 7th and slowest of all the drivers on the soft tyre. 65 starts, 40 of those he has failed to reach the checkered flag, and 3 of them coming at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Yeah, the most DNFs of anybody in Creator Series history. The fact that that's over a 50%, DNF rate is incredible. As there is Infratic in creating new lines around this circuit. Maybe that's how he found so much pace earlier on. But he is the fastest driver so far in the qualifying second. My old teammate, or my current teammate, I'm just not racing at the moment. Ricky comes into the pits, puts himself in a P3. Go on, you boy. Let's get some good points for Williams today. Bit weird, I suppose, for a commentator to be rooting for their current team, but hey, that's what we're doing today.
Got to be impartial. Got to be impartial here. But yeah, Ricky doing a decent job. Started the season actually fairly strong. He had a really good season opener in Kota until he spun under a late safety car, and that dropped him down the field slightly. But has been consistent, I think is the word for Ricky. Consistently usually finds himself in and around the top 10. We'll be hoping to do something similar here in Jeddah. Lolin Ober has come on leaps and bounds so far this season and has actually overtaken Razin Chai, who halfway through the campaign, we thought Razin was going to be in a championship battle. It has not materialised well at all for the Season 5 champion, returning to the venue where he picked up that World Championship, of course, now comfortably behind Lolly in the championship standings, and we'll just be hoping for F125 to be a different kettle of fish, I think, for Razin Chai comparing to what F124 has been. Decent lap so far for Lolin Ober. He'll be hoping to try and eclipse Fabio's time right at the top of the timing chart. 0.2 of a second nearly between the Ferrari and the Kick Sauber. Good middle sector for Lolin Ober as well. Safsa with a decent middle sector also in the Visa Cash App RB car, as he is just behind Lolin Ober on circuit. You just see the flash of that beautiful deep blue just behind the Haas car. Rounding turn 27, bit of a slide on exit, and now pulling gears all the way up to the line. Might get a very distant slipstream from the Aston Martin in front. Will this be provisional pole for Lolly? No, it will not. Missing out by nearly 2/10. Safso takes the benchmark down by a further 10th, though. 28.6 for the Season 1 champion.
Yeah, Lolin over there putting in a very strong time of 4 for the moment. The Season 7 F2 champion. 2 wins to his name this season as GB retires from the session. Is he feeling brave enough that he thinks that lap time is good? No, you look at where the car's parked. Something has gone on there between him and it looked like an RB car that was also on the runoff.
Safso potentially on a cool-down lap. It's interesting to note, actually, that GB and Razin both actually crashed and ended their qualifying sessions where Lando Norris did in Q3. So I don't know if that's potentially trying to take the mickey out of the championship leader in real life. Probably not the championship leader for much longer. Alex Gillen, the Season 2 champion, loves this circuit. Got a really good record around the Jeddah Corniche track, and he'll be hoping to challenge right at the sharp end. Meraki with provisional pole, as we just saw, 28.4, quarter of a second clear of Safso in position number 2. And rounding 27 we go with Alex Gillen, 5th in his championship. Will be hoping to be higher than 5th in the qualifying session. And cutting the beam, is it provisional pole? No, he's half a second down.
It's interesting to see who are the real winners and losers out of this fixed setup, because you look at F1 Alex, complete difference to where you usually find him in the race weekends. You usually expect him to find F1 Alex, you know, not down right at the bottom, but maybe just scraping that Q3 result. Looking very strong in P4. Infratic as well, up in 3rd at the moment, as we got a replay of what happened to GB. So let's analyze this and see what happened. So going into the left, and he just absolutely rips off the tyre through the left. It is very easy to do. You have to be millimeters away from that wall on the inside to maximize your lap time around this incredibly tough circuit. And unfortunately, if you just overextend those millimeters slightly, the track is going to bite back. Here's my replacement, Melanie, in the Williams. Currently down at 18th for the moment, but he's going to be probably taking this qualifying session, just building up the lap time, building up the confidence and finding how this fixed setup's going to work.
Yeah, you can almost use it as a nice little practice session. Just try and warm yourself up, acclimatise to the situation, as the championship leader, Formula Cream, has gone purple in the first couple of sectors, so should be taking Meraki's provisional pole time away. Ben up into third, Nogueira up into fourth, separated by 4 milliseconds. Holding it in seventh gear is the Williams of Melanie, down into turn number 27. I think Cream may have bailed out of it. Bit of a wobble on exit. No, there is the Podium McLaren in front, and Cream does smash the time set by Meraki by a third of a tenth. Melanie up to the line, and it is an improvement by 3/4 of a second, staying in P16.
Business as usual for Formula Cream. It looked like, just as we cut away there, the McLaren and the Williams were going to get a little bit racy as they went down in towards turn 1, and there was a yellow flag momentarily. That's probably just Melanie getting out of the way and making sure she's off track for those who are on flying laps. But Formula Cream shoots to the top, and it is business as usual up there. Meraki, though, just that consistency around Saudi. He's always been on the podium every single time around here, and he's up in second position, even with a fixed setup. There's Scott Taylor at the moment, has the most fastest laps this season, securing 3 today. And whilst, you know, the championship standings might not be that joyful for him being in 16th for the moment, you know, saying that you are the fastest driver in Creative Series F1 in Season 9 from having those fastest laps, I'm sure he'll be very proud of that.
And I would actually say that his performances have been better than his results have suggested. Yeah, it's been unlucky a lot of the time, Scott Taylor. Typically caught out in a couple of first lap incidents. Crossing the line, goes 7th fastest, ahead of the likes of Datka Vince, Alex Gill and Riccio 3 as well. That is a very competitive lap. Ahead of his teammate as well, which hasn't happened too many times this season, although they have been fairly evenly matched on qualifying pace. It's just the race where Lolly finds that extra little bit of an advantage over Scott Taylor, and perhaps trying to, or doing a better job of keeping himself out of trouble. Bit of slipstreaming going on there on the run down into turn number 27. And speaking of the second Haas driver, here is Lolanoba heading down into turns 1 and 2 for what I think is his second flying lap on the soft tyres in the session. Might be a bit of a quick turnaround to try and get back into the pits. Just under 4.5 minutes to go. If he does want to get 2 runs here in the remaining 4.5 minutes, he's going to have to get his skates on. Maybe it's a situation of, if this lap goes south, bail right at the end of it, come into the pits and get a fresh set of boots on.
Yeah, or maybe fueled up for the extra lap just in case this one doesn't go to plan, invalidates. It's so easy to do around here. You're really riding and attacking those curves, but if you just overextend slightly, and that's your lap in the bin. So maybe it will be wise for him to you know, just go for that extra lap. We're getting word that apparently Dale is cheating. Now, we have got preset setups on, so they can have the option. If the drivers would like, they can change that from the balance. What you run the risk of, though, is you will be disqualified. Just like how I decided to put an F1 esports driver under my name in Japan, whilst, yes, okay, you know, he got me up into P2 and got the race result there. Of course, and rightfully so, I was disqualified. So Dale could be absolutely flying in this race weekend because he has a slightly different setup to the other drivers, but those points will be taken away from him if that is true.
Yeah, and if he is running an ideal setup, not exactly showing a great turn of speed, is he, on that 29.9. Formula Kai jumping up into third fastest middle sector. Lolanoba was up by, I think, 0.4 of a second through the first couple of sectors, but bailing on it, as we suspected he might do. Tom also needs to try and get a bit of a hurry up here. Just 3 minutes to go. He's invalidated on this lap. Should just about have enough time to get that car turned around in the pit lane. Will help as well that Raz and Chai threw it in the barriers early on, so he won't have to wait for that horrendously and almost torturously long animation while his teammate comes out of the garage. F1 up by 0.5 tenth through sector 1. Currently finds himself nestled very nicely just inside the top 10 as he continue to find pace in the middle sector. Let's wait for him to cut the sector split up by just under 1/10 of a second. This could gain him maybe 1 position over Datka Vince. Needs to find a couple more if he's to challenge the 2 Scarlet Ferraris. Tim McMahon, Safso very close from 4th down into 6th. Safso, Ben and Nogueira separated by 18 milliseconds.
Yeah, this last corner, though, can make or break your lap. You could even miss the apex, tap the wall on the outside, but it looks like he's done a really good job there. Unfortunately, he's just a little bit too far away from his teammate, Formula Kai, to gain a little bit of slipstream down there. Will cross the line, and it will be an improvement, but it's only by 0.06 of a second, so it's not going to change his position, but those extra hundredths could be valuable come the end of the session. His teammate Marty crossed the line to start a lap, and let's ride on board with the championship leader, now dethroned from the top of the standings as he head through turn 1. Doesn't attack the first corner too much, but really rides over that second curve and then back on the throttle and heading down in towards the 4th corner. Very difficult corner through here, and there's a car just stopped waiting on the inside. That's going to be a distraction, and it was. Tiamat Marduk invalidates on his lap with the car on the inside. Not too sure who that was. It's looking like it was potentially a blue car, but there's so many blue cars on the track that we don't know who it is. But there it is. is Lolinoba. Could have been Lolinoba, in fact, actually getting in the way. But that is not the worst for Team Marduk. He's still sitting in a pretty decent position in 5th, as Ricky has now retired as well.
Yeah, and that's the third driver that's stuffed it in the barriers. So clearly biting people quite a lot as Adam Sanderson. That is absolutely criminal, invalidating through turn number 1. I think he is desyncing quite a lot. We can see him jumping absolutely all over the place. So we'll skip away from that. Still yet to get a time on the board. Mr. Dale, if he is running what is closer to an esports setup than the default, then he should be a little bit higher up than 16th, you would imagine. A little bit unstable there coming through the S's of the first sector. Is it going to be a nice improvement for him as we cross the line? It is 3.5 tenths found, but that's not necessarily enough for him to make any real impression and worry some of the drivers towards the sharp end.
No, Dale did wake up about 30-40 minutes ago, so this could be that playing into effect. He did say that he was going to do a lot of running in qualifying just to get back to grips with the game and find that pace through the qualifying session, and maybe, you know, that could be the play, just like I did in qualifying in Japan. You know, get yourself lower down the field and let the esports driver do the work for you and build back through the field, just like he's potentially letting that setup work for him in the race. A bit more content rather than just leading from the front and driving away from everybody else, making lots of overtakes and working your way through the field potentially is what Dale could be doing. As we're getting into the final few minutes now of qualifying, who's going to be in that bottom 5? Who's going to get knocked out? As of course GB and Raz and Shai would definitely both put themselves to that. Ricky 03 though is on the cusp, and it's going to be up to Mr. Dale, Melanie or Adam Sanderson to see whether they can do that. It's not going to be Dale though.
And one of the Ferraris had a bit of a whoopsie as well coming out of Sector 1. You can see that red dot still stationary, or just getting on the move now, coming up into turn 13. Here is the Season 2 champion, though. The winner of the race in Season number 2. Alex Gillen round in the final corner. Needs a significant jump up on this time. Not sure how much he's improving by, but as we cross the line for Alex Gillen from 12th up into 4th, just ahead of his teammate, just ahead of his old sparring partner, Tiamat Marduk, Formula Cream, though. Absolutely flying up by 1/4 of a second. And this could even break into the 127s if he manages to absolutely nail turn 27. The newly crowned championship leader, the reigning F2 champion, the rockstar rookie in the F1 Creator Series for the first time as a full-time driver. A little bit of a wag of the tail coming out of 27, but now just pulling gears all the way up to the line we go. Is this extending the margin out front? You bet it's extending the margin out front. 28.2. Ben chasing him down though and missing out by 1/3 of a tenth. That's the best qualifying lap from Tiamat Marduk in quite some time, but Meraki also finding time. This is going to be incredibly tight between this leading trio. Lolinoba up into 4th. What can Meraki do? The Season 4 champion takes it away, stealing a march on Kareem, stealing a march on Tiamat Marduk, the only driver in the 28.1s. Brilliant last-ditch effort from Jacob, buzzer beater to steal pole right at the death.
The driver's pushing here like it is for pole position, and Jake has absolutely nailed that there, put himself at the front. But of course, there is still all to play for. I know it's short qualifying. Is it short qualifying?
Yes, it is short qualifying.
This is how long I've been out of the commentary box here. Is I'm used to Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay, it's short qualifying. My bad. Jake is on pole. Meraki on pole. We said earlier he runs well around here, and he's never been off the podium, and potentially this is going to be another one of those stats to his name. Unfortunately, down the bottom, Mr. Dale saying that he's cheating, and he's still finishing at the back. So disappointing for there. GB and Razan have got it all to play for, but will potentially make some great content with a lot of overtakes coming their way through the field. But it's a big fight up at the front. The top 3 championship contenders, all in the top 3 slots. It's going to make things very exciting.
100%. And that was a real statement from Jake right at the end, wasn't it? We thought it was going to be Kareem versus Ben. Maybe not Ben after his first flying lap, but a really good qualifying lap from Tiamat Marduk, who hasn't necessarily and traditionally isn't necessarily the qualifying master. I think he's only got 2 pole positions in his entire Creator Series career. And I think he's got about 5 times as many victories as that. So a really decent effort. That'll give him a lot of confidence. Tells me as well that he's hooked up and ready to go and ready to try and snatch that championship lead back from Formula Cream. But yeah, GB, it's been disappointing really to see the almost disintegration of his championship push, because he was right in the thick of it about halfway through the season, but just struggling. Last week, failed to get a representative time in qualifying, started from 19th. This week, starting only a couple of places higher in 17th. And
that's what separates the true championship contenders from everybody else. Of course, he is missing next week, so he was never going to be going into this race with a chance of taking the championship, of course, but the consistency. We've talked about it at the start of the show, and that is why Team at Marduk, of course, is a 2-time champion and is on the verge and on the hunt of potentially a third if Karim or Meraki don't get in the way of that. And it's because of the consistency across the season, always, not necessarily always taking the wins, because he's got, what, 2 race wins this season, but the podiums stack up for themselves. And it's a strange one, because GB actually has the most podiums, of course, of anybody this season, but it's those off weekends that, unfortunately, that GB has to his name, and that is where he's just lacking a little bit, and he needs to overcome if he wants to really go for a charge as Creator Series hits its 10th season on F1 25.
100%. And I think if you dig a little bit deeper into the results, you'll see why Bensley in the championship hasn't finished lower than 7th this season. Kareem's got 4 finishes lower than 7th. Alex Gillen's got a couple. And then GB, I think he's got a trio of 12th place finishes scattered throughout the season as well, which is not ideal at all when you are trying to chase your very first Drivers' Championship.
And of course, Ben took 6 points in Styrophobia, which is obviously the most important part of the season as well. So there's a lot to take there that Ben will be very, very happy with. And Karim only taking 2 points. So potentially it could come down to that. But there's been so many different wildcards and so many different additions to this series with intermediates pole and your fastest lap points, etc., etc. So this is how the standings look after qualifying. Of course, an extra point is added for the intermediate pole position, which Team at Marduk got in the first few minutes of qualifying. Puts them on 2.54, now only 1 point behind Formula Karim. And Meraki, of course, is on the hunt. He is on the hunt of those 2 drivers. He has got a mathematical chance, and putting himself at the top is incredible for him to have this championship charge. But looking at the other drivers, Alex Gillen and Zafso had a really strong qualifying performance. We said earlier on that, you know, having 2 drivers, 2 strong drivers as well, working together for the constructors could potentially pull a charge for both of them to get themselves back in the constructors hunt, and they've put themselves in an ideal slot for that.
100%, and they'll be loving the demise of Aston Martin in this qualifying session as well. I think Vince is around and about P10 potentially, and obviously GB further down the order as well. These are the standings if you missed it earlier on. I mean, if you did miss it, where were you? But it is Mercedes leading by a couple of points ahead of McLaren, who are, well, I'm being told that they're actually leading by 3 points, courtesy of that intermediate pole picked up by Team at Marduk, and then Aston Martin haven't had a great qualifying session, now 8 points off the back of them. Potential opportunity maybe for the V-Carb team to try and slide in there and steal the championship late on. Red Bull maybe as well, but they just need Mr. Dale to try and reach the checkered flag first.
Williams down in 9th. It's been a disappointing season for us, and I must say I'm not very happy with whoever picked the teams this season, because you've got teams like RB, right, where you've got Zafso and Alex Gillen, you've got Alpine, where you've got Razin and Tom, and then you've got 2 of the most mid drivers in Williams. Me, who, you know, it's rare if I get in the top 10, and Ricky as well, who I seem to see all the time down there with me. So whoever picked those teams, I'm coming for you next season. Sauber, though, with Formula Car and F1 Alex, luckily we're just ahead of them. Although we've had Tom 97 a few times this season, which every time that's happened, I'm like, yes, this is going to be a great amount of points. He always seems to find a way to bottle, sadly. But those were your Constructors' Championship standings going into the final 2 races of the season. And we'll be getting into the race momentarily. Of course, you have a lobby restart between qualifying and the race. Gives the drivers a chance to get fresh tyres across the whole of the race weekend. So it means that they are pushing to the max. And of course, strategy is going to be very important as we go into this race weekend, because, of course, the wildcard doesn't change anything in terms of tyres, so the hards are still banned.
The wildcard may change the tyre wear slightly. We were talking about how it can induce a little bit more understeer. Maybe we'll see certain drivers struggle with that more. We spoke earlier about Formula Cream as well, has that very aggressive turning that some drivers like to, I don't want to use the word exploit because it's not an exploit, but he tries to manipulate, let's say, with the way that the handling model works. And that usually induces a little bit more tyre wear. We saw it a week ago in Bahrain with nearly caught out by a couple of punctures in that wild card if you missed it a week ago. So that's going to be interesting to see how he deals with. Obviously hasn't slowed him down at all, still qualifying on the front row. I think Kareem's probably the one to watch if we look at it from a strategical standpoint.
Yeah, certainly. And you've also got to look at the tyre wear in terms of the tyre temperature too, because your brake pressures are going to be the standard brake pressures that the game gives you. And from personal experience, when we were running in Silverstone and Alex Gillen, you know, readied up far too quickly for everybody else, I wasn't able to change my full setup, and therefore I was running with the default tyre pressures, and the tyres are cooked. Within like 5 laps, you're hitting 110 degrees on the carcass temperature, and with those temperatures, it's just not only going to cause you to have a bit of slip with traction, especially out of slow speed corners, which you're looking at turn 1 and 2, especially through there, and the final corner, which are going to be those big zones of traction. You're also going to be increasing the tire wear back there as well. So not only are you putting the load on the front because the understeer that the setup is producing, but also those rear tires are going to be really heating up, and that's something that the drivers are going to have to, be on their toes for.
Such a fascinating dynamic, and it makes the soft tyres, which are usually pretty appealing, maybe slightly less desirable for those drivers, because obviously the softer compound, they will heat up the most, so they probably want to treat their medium tyres like absolute gold dust. They've obviously got the 3 sets of softs if they use. I think most drivers just use the 2 sets of brand new softs, so they've got them in their back pocket, but like we said, maybe not the most desirable compound.
And safety cars, of course, in Creator Series are inevitable. They've happened so many times across our seasons, so drivers will definitely be taking that into mind in terms of building their strategy here. They have to look at which tire is going to be best for the end of the race, and the TM Marduk strategy of keeping the medium and not using all of your mediums earlier on to keep one in case there is a late safety car could be rewarded here today. We've had it a few times where the intentional ones have been caused because drivers have been allowed to crash out on track if, of course, they don't want to race anymore. This is because where the way that the game works is if a driver comes into the pit lane, they could then be released out of the pits whilst it's an AI and then get involved in a lead battle and cause all absolute mayhem between that, which we don't want to see. It's safer for the drivers to do, but it has maybe been happening far too many times in recent weeks in the final few laps of the race. We'll be hoping to see strategies play out, but of course the barriers are so close around this circuit. The margins are so minimal, as we saw with GB, a very experienced and a fantastic driver that we have in Creator Series, getting caught out by the left-hander, and potentially we're going to see a lot more drivers being caught out by not only that corner, but a few others around the circuit as well. Are they going to be driving towards maybe 90-80% just to make sure they get to the end?
I mean, it might be even less than that, considering what we spoke about with the tyres. But I'm going to guarantee you, everybody, that we see a safety car. I think this circuit holds the record for the most retirements in a Creator Series Grand Prix. I think we had 9 back in Season 3. We only had 11 cars finishing. If we have anything like that, it's going to be, 1, a very infamous Creator Series race, but 2, going to throw the strategy cars absolutely up into a tree full of pigeons, with some cats thrown in there for good measure as well, because it's not quite as important as F123, where you always wanted to pit under the safety car, get those fresh tyres on, but I think we are going to still see it provide a serious advantage. Say we get 5 safety car periods, that's really going to have to make the drivers think on their feet.
Yeah, 9 in Season 3, you're correct with that. The current drivers on the grid who were caught out by those DNFs, Razin, Zafso, Fabio and Dale. I think me and Zafso crashed together, so I am one of those that was involved in that DNFs for that race as well. I think we got involved with each other in the final few laps down in towards turn 2. They'll be looking to, redeem themselves, but Razin, of course, hasn't got off to a good start in qualifying, putting the car in the barrier, and maybe this is a circuit that plagues him, and maybe not one that he'll be looking forward to see the back of, and be glad that we've only done it once in the F124 game cycle. But he's not had the greatest luck this season. Seems to be getting caught up in incidents with other drivers, and sometimes they're not your fault, okay? Sometimes when you have an incident, it's not your fault. But if you are the denominating factor that is always involved in those issues, maybe sometimes you need to take a step back, look at yourself and go, right, where am I putting my nose that maybe I shouldn't? Or am I maybe being a bit too aggressive with drivers that I shouldn't be? Or, maybe he needs to look at that and assess himself. I don't know.
At what point do you think, maybe it's me? Maybe I am the problem. I don't think too many of them have been down to Razin. I think maybe you can look at China a few weeks ago, where he just lost the car, slightly pinballing off Lolinoba's side pod and into the barrier on the last lap of the race, fighting inside the top 5. But if Kareem was the unluckiest driver in the first half of the season, I think he's probably lost that medal to Razin in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, if you're emphatic, then you never, ever admit that it's you. I don't think I've ever seen that driver take blame for any incident in the Creator Series before. F1 Alex, I think, was a very strong performance from him in qualifying. Much less than we're used to seeing from him, where he's usually nearer the back of the grid. We'll be hoping not to see a DNF from him today. Of course, he is leading the Constructors Championship, 7 DNFs in this season so far, and he will be taking that title because we've only got 2 races to go and Dale can't catch that up. But let's see if F1 Alex can end this season on a high. It's quite funny that the 2 who are leading the championship were the 2 championship contenders in F2 in Season 6, and they seem to meet each other again halfway through the race with their cars absolutely crunched up.
Yeah, the famous Campos teammates back from Mr. Dale's legendary F2 Championship push. But let's have a look at the starting grid, starting from the basement boys right at the back. And on the final row, it is Razin Chai, the venue where he won his Season 5 Championship from 20th. Adam Sanderson having some desyncing issues going from 19th. Then in front, Melanie, returning to the Creator Series alongside a very seasoned campaigner in GB, another driver called out by the barriers, Mr. Dale. Apparently cheating. Well, he did do a very good job of it, starting from 16th. And then Hayden Gullis' traditional teammate, Ricky 03, ahead of him. F1 Alex, starting from 14th, his best qualifying in quite a while. Dak Gavin's the lead driver for Aston Martin on the grid, but it's only unlucky 13th. Scott Taylor, been very consistent in qualifying so far this season. He'll be looking for a top 10, along with the consistently improving, Nick Flies. Into the top 10. All Scarlet Row 5 in Fratic. Some very decent performances over the last few weeks. Nagera has picked up a pole position here before, but is yet to score points at this venue. Alex Gillen and Safso. Very rare that we see Safso out qualify Alex Gillen, but it has happened today. Two former champions starting on row 4. Tom Bina, another driver that has won a championship here at Saudi Arabia in Season 3, Formula Kai, once again starting inside the top 5. Only once failed to be inside the top 5 on the grid. Lolanoba was a little bit off the top 3 in qualifying, but a very decent start for the two-time Grand Prix winner. And then the reigning champion going from 3rd with two very big guns in front of him. The new championship leader, Formula Cream, headed up by one singular point. And Meraki, the Season 4 champion, yet to win a race this season, back on form in qualifying, as this is opportunity.
It's going to be a very exciting race here in Saudi Arabia. Of course, chaos usually does unfold around this circuit. Of course, we're going to get a formation lap before we get into the racing here as well. Both Ferraris on the same row, as you said, with both RBs ahead of them. Alex Gillen and Safso have got a bit of ground to make up to get involved. Tom was actually saying, he's starting in P6, Tom was saying that this is going to be a really good wild card for him because he doesn't really do any practice going into the race weekends. And he's kind of backed that up there with a P6 in that motion rig as well. You've got to say, whilst he might be lacking in terms of, practice and setup, etc., he has got the best in real life setup of everybody else. And, surely that's going to gain you extra temps.
It might do. There is the fatigue element that we probably have to talk about. This is one of the more demanding circuits, constantly turning, 27 corners here at Jeddah Corniche. I would not be surprised if he perhaps has some slightly sore forearms come the end of our 50-lap Grand Prix.
Yeah, or he'll be hoping not to end up in any barriers because, of course, in that motion sim, it's going to hurt a little bit.
He's going to have his wrists snapped. That's not going to be ideal at all.
Here we go then, getting underway with the formation lap as Tom and F1 Alex already getting themselves disqualified. Formation lap in Creator Series isn't your usual traditional formation lap. We're all in the VC together and we're all just kind of trying to get each other disqualified, which in all fairness is a great tactic. Back in Australia, I started the back of the grid and I was 13th by turn 1 because I took out Dan Gilligan, Adam Sanderson and Scott Taylor, who all got terrible starts blocking everybody else behind them, and I was able to gain 7th position. So, in all fairness to some of these drivers, it's a good tactic.
It is almost more of a demolition derby, isn't it? Where they can take each other out with very little consequences, although the pole sitter you can see looking very pleased with himself in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's probably because he's been able to survive the chaos. The two drivers directly behind him have been caught out. Kareem and Tim Malik sent back to the Shadow Realm. Lolanoba has managed to stick it out as well. In Fratics, usually the driver that likes to cause the most trouble in that Scarlet Red Ferrari car. You can just see one of the red dots on the track map. I wonder if it's Fabio just ahead of Jake there. No, this is Fabio coming through turn 13 now. I wonder if he's going to try and gain any more victims. This could be an ideal opportunity as we jump towards Nagera in the sister Ferrari car, just behind one of the V cars. And one of the Hatters as well has escaped out in front. I think that is Lolanoba, desperate to try and get round and avoid any kerfuffles.
Important for Razin Shah, it seems like he's avoided it as well. He'll be looking to really maximise the tyre temperatures and launch off the start as he can just drive in his own sort of world. He's right at the back of the grid and take as long as he likes, as a few drivers will be sitting on the grid and those tyres getting colder and colder. Very interesting as well that P2 and P3, the two championship contenders, cold tyres. But maybe, I suppose, with the default setup, it's not a terrible thing to be starting the race with cold tyres because the way that the tyre pressures work, you're going to be firing up those tyres very, very quickly, and they could be in a better position for longer in terms of tyre wear than maybe some of those who have done the formation lap.
Who would have thought it, getting taken out on the formation lap turns out to be a blessing in disguise? That's going to be a very interesting one to think about. Obviously, short run down into turn 1, not quite the shortest on the calendar, but one of. There's going to be an opportunity with that heavy braking zone, the flick left and then straight back right into turn number 2 to potentially gain a couple of places, but also cause a little bit of chaos. The camera not cooperating as we get a notification that the safety car is out there. That's not ideal at all. 3, 4 and 5 red lights, and for the penultimate time on F1 24, it is lights out, and we are underway here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Even Steven start for the leading duo. Lorenober closing up to the back of the reigning champion, but down into turn number 1 we go. Formula Cream a little bit bulked on the inside and straight away having to deal with his nearest championship challenger. Side by side, the two protagonists, where I think the Papaya McLaren just about going to hold station in second. Ahead of Team McMahon, Lorenober and Formula Kai rounding out our top 5. And as it looks, everything has been quite orderly so far.
Karim tiptoeing through turn 4 and 5, making sure that he doesn't follow in the footsteps of the other McLaren in real life, Lando Norris, and ending up in the barrier there. But it is 1, 2, 3, stationary, even 4th, 5th, 6th. Everybody's kind of stayed put. It's further down the field where Infratic has overtaken his teammate of Noguera, and that guy Vince has made up 2 places. GB had a flying start up 4 into P13, and Razin Shai as well, getting past Mr. Dale, who apparently has been cheating, Adam Sanderson, and Melanie as Dale falls down another position as well. So we're watching on board now with Adam Sanderson as Dale runs wide off the circuit. A little bit of a mistake there. Really, maybe, having that setup on, he's not used to the snap that the car's having, and that is actually not working in his favour at all. But Adam Sanderson, after the desync issues that he had in qualifying, really hindering him and stopping him from taking part, is looking to be back underway again as we look back to the top and into the first flat-out slipstream zones to see if there are any changes for position.
The two Ferraris squabbling, continuing their scrap down into turn number 27. Infratic actually on the move and getting in between the two V-Carb cars. Safso starting on the medium tyres, already leaked 1 place to his teammate Alex Gillen, now having it out with Infratic as they cut the beam to start the second lap of the race. Meraki leading by 0.2 of a second. Infratic still desperate to try and get up into 8th place ahead of the Season 1 champion. Up the inside into turn number 1, becomes the outside for turn number 2 as one Ferrari moves forward, the other moves backwards because Vince, very opportunistic stuff, pushing Noguera down to P11.
Softs first and mediums. Soft's always going to come out on top in this early stages, but the mediums, as the race develops, are going to be the better tyre to be on, as they will not overheat as quickly as the softs do. But Infratic making a great overtake there. And Saudi is one of his favourite tracks. He's always said that he really loves it around here. There was a bit of a moan and a groan when the fixed setup was announced, but it looks like it's not been hindering too much as he's moved past Safso into 8th position there. So we're looking behind from Meraki, and Karim almost glued to the back of that Red Bull car.
Almost pushing him through the apex of there. Not what you want to do, and Jake perhaps a little bit spooked by that because Formula Cream, excellent run through 16 and 17, now through the kinks of 18, 19, 20 and eventually 21. Through goes the championship leader, and we are returning to a position that he is very familiar of indeed. First place now for Formula Cream, taking away from the Season 4 champion. Meraki now following in the footsteps behind a bite of the cherry, second bite of the cherry to try and get that lead back down to turn number 27. Lolinoba also very menacing underneath the rear wing of Tim McMahon. Jake does indeed take the lead back around the outside of turn 27. Tim McMahon sensing an opportunity as well, trying to lay his cars firmly on the table as Karim defensively moving over to the middle of the track, and almost a game of chicken at this point. We're very nearly 3 wide. Ben trying to stick his nose in a place it's not particularly welcome, darting this way and that, moving over to the inside now, very late on the brakes. Always fancies an opportunity down the inside. Contact between the two championship protagonists. Lolanoba, Meraki potentially making up for lost time. Team Marlett down into 4th position now, still having it out with the Haas of Lolanoba, but Karim somehow comes through on top ahead of Meraki and Team Marlett, and Lolanoba not quite able to capitalise.
The way that they were all over the place in those last few sectors, and there's not a single change of position between the top 4 going down in towards that first corner. Incredible stuff between them all to keep it relatively clean, and nobody getting any major damage, as it looks like Formula Kai having a look now on Lenoba into the hairpin. These two are very aggressive drivers, I must say, as they are going to go side by side through the hairpin. It looks like they get through that nicely and cleanly. Team at Marduk Radio, sorry, I'll give the place back. I think he just bumped a little bit there with Formula Kai, and Meraki getting a little bit too aggressive down towards the first corner, gives that back. Mr. Dell, 3-second time penalty already. Scott Taylor, Mr. Dell looked like they got a little bit of damage early on because they've both come into the pits and are now 18 seconds away from the rest of the train.
And with that 3-second penalty, like you said, so not a good start for Dale. And if he is cheating, I don't want to be cruel, but he's not doing a particularly good job of it. Tom now very close to the back of Formula Kai. Could be attack turning to defence in a very short space of time for the kicks out, although Lolanova looking a little bit vulnerable coming through the flat out turn number 26.
Oh.
Kai very late on the brakes, clatters into the rear of Ben. Not once, not twice, but thrice as Ben losing out to Lolanova and Tom, both filing through and saying thank you very much. And now Ben's still having it out with Formula Kai and his old sparring partner Alex Gillen sniffing an opportunity, a weakness in his old buddy Tim. Well, does he think about it up the inside? No, he does not. Ben late on the brakes. I think a little bit of contact again this time between the Mercedes and the Alpine of Tom Biener in front. Everybody coming through unscathed, and Alex Gillen eventually falling back behind Formula Kai. Battles going on between the two green machines, the Aston Martins stinking their teeth into one another. This hasn't ended well in previous weeks and months. Twice before they've come to blows. This time GB gets through cleanly, tucked up underneath the rear wing of Sasso.
Great recovery drive from GB so far to move himself up into the top 10. A lot of positions still left to go in this race as Nogueira now burning the battery to go for the overtake on the Aston Martin driver right around the outside of this cambered hairpin. Can he get it and make it stick? Yes, he can. GB just keeping his nose in there slightly, trying to fight it back, but I think Nogueira's going to hold on to this one. And GB now, that guy Vince knocked out of the of 11th place and down into 12th now. Alex Gillen having a little look there on team at Marduk. I think if any other driver, Ben wouldn't have fought that so hard, but he braked later than Alex Gillen just to make sure he could hold that position. It nearly ended up with him taking out Tom in the process as well, but Ben will be fuming at Formula Kai for the few little bumps that he gave into the rear, whilst Kai maybe might be having a little bit of a chuckle to himself in that scenario instead. As we go again, and this is where all the action seems to be happening down towards the final corners. The cars maybe slightly separated compared to last lap, but let's see what develops down into the first corner.
I think Gillen did dive down the inside of Formula Kai, but was unable to make it stick, and Safso trying to defend 9th place ahead of GB on the medium tyres is the V-Carb. The other RB trying to take 6th place off the hands of Formula Kai. The lead changing hands as well, down to turn number 1. Meraki now reassuming it. Contact once again, this time between Alex Gillen and Formula Kai. A little bit of bumping and grinding, getting involved with each other, and that is millimetres from the barrier. The Season 2 champion, heart in mouth moment. Formula Kai, not just with razor blades on his elbows, but he's got daggers on his elbows the way that he's driving at the moment. Just got to be careful he doesn't lose the DRS to the quintet in front of them. But Gillen, I don't think would have been particularly happy by that. Was given quite the squeeze towards the barrier.
No, Alex Gillen very vocal about always wanting to be left space, and that is one of the rules in Creator Series, that if you are side by side with another driver, you've got to make sure you give them enough room. And, you know, did Formula Kai give him enough room, or did he give him just enough room there on the inside? But spook Alex Gillen slightly, and Alex backed out of that. No need to risk a DNF, only 5 laps into a 50-lap race. So wise there from Alex Gillen just to back out of that. He seems like he's got the pace over the kit car of Formula Kai, so we can go again later on in a few laps time. But here's the battle up at the top. Meraki still leading the way over Formula Karim. Lolanova looking to get involved in the Haas as well, as Tom just dropping back slightly, half a second between those guys, but still not out of DRS, and everybody in DRS all the way down to Ricky in P15. So this is a really close battle, and everybody in the points right now fighting for every single point out there.
And Karim, I think, just being pretty sensible there, not going for an unnecessary move down into the braking zone of turn number 27. Obviously, you get a second bite of the cherry with the DRS, and this time as the rear wing flap of that Papaya McLaren opens, he is going to take the lead away from Meraki, but Lolanova may be just trying to mix things up a little bit, upset the apple cart down into the braking zone of turn 1. Meraki having to go defensive, slightly offline through turn 2, gets a decent enough exit and will hold station in second ahead of the Haas. That is looking pretty racy, has to be said. Tom Biener doing a decent job in 4th. Remember, on the medium compound tyres, they're probably pretty level with the softs. We've got to lap 6, those tyre temperatures of the soft tyres will be starting to head skyward as well. So Tom could be in a very, very decent position, as Jake may have picked up a corner cutting warning there for just running outside track limits.
Jake was very happy then to let Formula Krim go and take the position. Those two wanting to switch positions, stay in the top 2, and just manage this race from the front. But Lolanova just burning the battery a little bit there, trying to get involved. Jake was straight on the battery saying, no, you're not coming through. I'm holding this second position. He's done so very, very well. Here's the battle just outside the top 10. GB on the back of Fratic, who's now been overtaken by his teammate. We said earlier that all the top 15 are within 1 second of each other. That's definitely been separated. Zafso 1.3 from his teammate. And we've got Fratic. They're all just piled up behind Fratic at the moment. Maybe he's got some damage, not too sure. But the two Aston Martins backed up to each other, with Razin wanting to get involved, who started from the back of this race, now up to P13 in it. And as we got a little change up at the top, Tom overtaking Lolanova, but still watching this battle for 10th position. Fratic now overtaken by GB, by that guy Vince, and Mr. Dale, whilst apparently cheating, has now got 6 seconds of time penalties. His day going from bad to worse.
Likewise for Fabio, definitely saw some front wing end plate damage there. I think it's on the left side of that Scarlet Ferrari car. Yes, confirmed by people in the chat as the battle for the lead rages on. Kareem leading Meraki, Lolanoba, Tom and Tim McMarlick, and just behind Alex Gillen as he finally managed to muscle his way past Formula Kai in the battle for 6th and 7th. Kai desperate not to give this up, but I think he may have to now concede defeat. Do not want to be throwing it down the inside of turn number 4, and Alex Gillen, the Season 2 champion, finally getting ahead of Formula Kai and up into 6th position. But we have got, like you said, a couple of breaks in the DRS train, back to 8th place with Nogueira, 2.5 seconds separating Kai and Nogueira, then a further second between Safso and Datga Vince, with Fabio losing places all the time courtesy of that little bit of damage.
Hearing in my ear that Nogueira under investigation for potentially using preset 4, that will be assessed over the course of the race, so potentially going to be faster than the other drivers out on track, but will get disqualified at the end of the race if that is the case. We're watching on board in Fratic, still falling down the field, and that looked like another smack of the wall on the outside there, and he's now going to get overtaken by my teammate, Ricky. Go on, boy! As he's going to go side by side. No decides to back out of that one. There's a long straight coming up, and there's a great opportunity to overtake through there. But Infratic still doing a good job of holding onto the back of these guys in the DRS, and we'll be trying to just take this car as long as possible, and maybe praying for a bit of a safety car later on for a free opportunity to change the front wing then. Ricky now assessing to see whether he can go for an overtake into the final corner. Oh, that is a late defensive maneuver from Fabio there to turn across Ricky. I'm not too sure whether he got any front wing damage for courtesy of that, but for now, Fabio does keep hold of position as Safso gets in front of Nogueira.
Wow, door slammed and slammed in the face of Ricky going into the final corner there, and a lock-up because Nick Flies is now charging down the inside of the Williams, side by side through turns 1 and 2, and I think Ricky has just about held off the assaults from Nick Flies behind in the battle for 14th and 15th. 3-second penalty for Adam Sanson, maybe a little bit of rust there, obviously couldn't get involved in qualifying, didn't set a time in 3 seconds off the back of this little scrap. Alex Gillen's also managed to get himself back within 1 second of Tim McMarlick halfway around the previous lap. That gap was sitting at 1.5 seconds, so maybe a little bit of battling going on inside the top 5 has afforded Gillen the opportunity to try and cling on to the coattails of that group in front of him.
Tom now just ahead of Tim McMarlick. Tim McMarlick, though, right on his tail as we go in towards the second sector here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Tom, in that motion simulator, will be looking to try and get at the top of the standings and try and take that race win here today against people like Formula Kareem and Meraki, who put in a lot more effort and practice going into Creator Series. Mr. Dell now picks up another warning. You know, maybe he may be cheating, but he is also going to try and take the record for most penalties in a race, as he is currently batting down there with F1 Alex, the Destructors Championship. There's an almighty battle going on up at the front. Karim holding the lead. Lolanova wanting to get involved on the inside. Meraki trying to hold firm and stay a 1-2 between him and Formula Krim. He knows that Krim's smart and can work together, but Lolanova, an aggressive driver, wants to get up there too. But so does Tom. He doesn't care about working together. He wants to go for the content. He wants to go for the move. And Tim and Marduk looking to get involved as well. It's 3 wide between them. Formula Krim has gone from 1st down to 5th in just 1 straight. And he's going to be very disappointed with that as Tim and Marduk and Tom still go side by side. Can they get through cleanly? Yes, they can. Was Tom pushed off the circuit, though? Will he pick up a warning? They're still taking it side by side through the first sector. And Tim and Marduk wisely backs out of that one. He's got a championship to fight for, and he does not want to lose the lead train as his championship rival is going for a look down in towards the hairpin.
And I think we just saw Kareem thinking about the championship there, realised that he was almost going to be 4 wide down into turn 1 and thinking, you know what, we're going to play the long game. It's lap 5, not lap 9, lap 49 of this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, dropping down into position number 5 and making sure that he doesn't just knock off a piece of that front wing. But Tom, I think in the ascendancy now on the tyre aspect, those mediums are going to be looking very, very nice. I think a few drivers in this train might be slightly jealous of the performance he's able to get out of those tyres. Alex Gillen now next on the scene to try and maybe push Formula Cream down a further position, maybe battle as well with his old sparring partner, like we've said, Tiamat Marduk in 4th. But Formula Kai still glued right underneath the rear wing of that V-Cub car. And once again, we're going to see very close quarters racing indeed. Tom on the move and in the groove is on the outside. Lolanoba getting a little bit boxed in behind the Red Bull of Meraki, having to concede defeat to Tom, who swings it around the outside of 27. Formula Cream dropping down to 6th place as well, though is still side by side with Alex Gillen coming out of the final corner. We're going to cut the beam, start lap number 10. And what order are we going to be in by the time we get to the braking zone? Look at this, 6 cars. You can throw a blanket blink it over them. They're so close together. Lolanoba now leads the race. Tom around the outside of Meraki. Ben and Kareem and Alex still having it out for 4th, 5th and 6th places respectively. The reigning champion gets ahead of the championship leader. Tom having to concede defeat also to Meraki in the battle for 2nd and 3rd. But it's Lolanoba who was just smashed into the inside barrier. Nearly collects Team at Marduk. Nearly collects Formula Kareem. Alex Gillen getting through unscathed as well. And what a cataclysmic error that is. He'd just taken the lead for the very first time and doing what GB did in qualifying, pitches it in the barrier and ending his day slightly early.
This is great news for those at the back who are going to get an opportunity for a free pit stop here with a virtual safety car out on track. And it looks like the full safety car is joining the circuit as well. So it's going to be a full safety car. Lolanoba, as you said, just takes the lead. And unfortunately does exactly what GB did. Just clips it a little bit too tightly on the inside. And they were very lucky in that pack because they were all so close together. It was the lead of that train who just came back across the track in no control of his car at all. And very lucky for all those drivers and very well done from them as well to avoid the chaos in front of them and not to pick up any more wheels lost in the process. But it's Meraki who leads the way under this safety car on lap 10 with Tom in second. It'll be interesting to see who comes into the pits because, of course, Tom starting on those medium tyres would have been wanting this safety car to come later, of course, as would Zafso. But unfortunately for them, they have to now make that decision. Do they follow the rest of the pack or do they stay out longer and then become a sitting duck on the safety car restart?
Yeah, difficult for Tom because he's not got the most out of what will be the best race tyre, those yellow stripe mediums. I've just watched back Ben and Formula Kareem's POV. Wowzers, they were millimetres away from being collected by Lolanoba's stricken Haskar as he rebounded off the inside wall and then cascading across the circuit. Everybody does jump down into the pit lane at the end of lap number 10 and Tom almost smashing into the rear of Meraki. Safso electing to stay out, probably because he may have been held up behind his team at Alex Gillen, also to try and, well, get the most and extend this medium tyre stint. Everybody else is staying out, so the Season 1 champion very much in a club of one. And Tim at Marduk, along with GB, jumping onto another set of the red stripe soft tyres.
Thing is, though, for Zaf, is safety cars do tend to breed safety cars. However, for him, because he's going to be at that disadvantage between the difference in pace between the two drivers, or him and the rest of the field, he could potentially be the cork in the bottle that causes the safety car. So you put yourself in that vulnerable position. Yes, okay, a lot of chaos can happen behind you and a safety car could come later to benefit yourself, but you could also be involved with maybe drivers being a little bit too risky with their overtakes and a little bit impatient and wanting to get through you as quickly as possible, and you could potentially be bumped out and out of the race. So he's got to be careful of that. So we're going to get a replay. This is, I believe, on board with Lolanoba. No, it's not, unless everything has got dark for Lolanoba, which it might well have done, because he has crashed out of this race, so everything could have gone dark. So we will get that replay for you shortly, no worries. But it is Zafso who leads the way with 10-lap-old tyres. It'll be interesting to see whether he comes in at the end of this lap, but he is really going to lose out all the way down to potentially 16th position if he does box this lap.
Yeah, just needs to hope that the safety car doesn't come out very shortly. I think we're going to try again for that Lolanoba replay. Hopefully we can turn the lights on this time and see what's going on. Yes, we can. So just getting up into the lead of the race and doing exactly what GB did. Just a little bit over-ambitious, trying to get as close as he can to the inside barrier of turn number 4. And instead, having a chat with Barrier, ripping off that left front tyre. You can tell that it was just tyre to wall contact because the front wing still completely intact. And that is not a very good situation for Lolanoba and not a very kind error to make.
Deserved, honestly, I think deserved. I've watched that clip as well with you, and wearing a Ferrari shirt, driving a Haas.
Disgraceful.
So yeah, disgraceful, completely deserved. Zafso peels into the pit lane. He's going to be wincing a little bit there. That's going to be a lot of positions lost. Will come out just behind potentially F1 Alex, but Alex will be on 7-lap-old medium tyres as well, so potentially be able to get past him quite quickly. But he's got a lot of work to do to get back up through the field. But it's, you know, as we were at the top, Meraki back there once again, leading the way, and Tom is going to be following him in second. Team at Marduk opting for the soft tyre, as has GB. Tom has gone medium, so no new mediums for him if there were to be a late safety car that will potentially need them. Ben, he's played this game before. He's been in the Creator Series since its beginning in Season 1, and he knows that a medium tyre at the end of this race could be vital if there is a late safety car.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, I do question that strategical decision from Tom, because I'm fairly sure we're going to see another safety car. I think everybody watching this is fairly sure we're going to see another safety car. I will not be surprised if it comes within the next 5 or 6 laps. You said it previously, safety cars breed safety cars. And that could be him wasting his second and final set of brand new mediums. So whether that's the right decision for Tom, we'll have to wait and see. But like you said as well, Ben knows these strategical decisions like the back of his hand, always saves a set of mediums for the end of the Grand Prix. Tom will have no brand new mediums come the end of our 50-lap race, and I think that could very well come back to bite him where it hurts. As Safso leaves the session, it goes from bad to worse.
Yeah, Safso doing it happens every single race, you know, it's guaranteed. There's 2 things guaranteed in Creator Series, all right? Safety cars, and Safso will get disconnected at some point in the race, and it's happened once again. Yeah, this race weekend going from bad to worse for him here today. Team Monaco and GB will be wanting to get through this field as quickly as possible, being on those soft tyres, and then, you know, taking that hit later on with the soft tyres not working in their favour compared to the mediums, and be able to back up the rest of the pack. That's what those two are going to be looking to do. The safety car is in this lap. Let's go racing.
Huge opportunity for Ben to get back up into the lead of this Grand Prix. Started from third, finds himself residing in third, but has been as high as second and as low as fifth in this opening stint of the race. But it is Meraki, the pole sitter, that will lead us away with Tom Biener at the venue. Good memories for him where he won his one and only Creator Series Championship back in Season 3, the very first season of F1 23. And I tell you what, time flies, because that is nearly 2 years ago. Would you believe me if I said that? We're going once again, though, as we're going to start lap number 13 with the Season 4 champion leading the Season 3 champion, and the 2 main championship protagonists side by side. Ben trying to make the most of those soft tyres on the restart. If he drops behind Formula Cream, that would be the worst possible outcome, but there's contact, a flashpoint between the 2 main challengers. Cream into the side of Ben, who's losing places, is he? No, just that one to the Papaya McLaren car. Formula Kai wasn't close enough to try and snaffle up and snatch up the opportunity presented itself by that little collision. Alex Gillen nose to tail as well with the kick Sauber front, and GB benefiting from the safety car also right back in this lead battle. But wow, I wasn't expecting that. Adam Sanderson's thrown it into the barrier. Virtual safety car called. No full course caution just yet. We just need to bide our time with it, because sometimes it can be called out a little bit later. But I think that is just going to be the virtual safety car.
Interesting there from Adam Sanderson. He was sort of around P13, P14. Of course, he had the desync issues in qualifying earlier on. He was in a fight with Nick Flyers. Of course, we've got the Constructors' Championship to think of as well. And whilst you had the 2 championship contenders in the drivers fighting, you had their teammates fighting for the Constructors' Championship too, between him and Nick Flyers. So he's come out not on top of that one, and that is not good for Mercedes in their hunt for the Constructors either. Nick Flyers and Krim both still in the race. The virtual safety car still out. Doesn't look like there's going to be a full safety car. We will get a replay of what happened to Adam Sanderson later on, as everybody is just trundling around at the moment. Meraki leads the way with Tom just waiting in the wings right behind him for this race to go back to green running once again.
Who is going to get the customary drive-through penalty? It seems every single time we get a VSC, somebody makes a complete meal of the restart and does pick up a drive-through penalty. And look at this, Tom and Meraki racing as we start lap number 14, side by side, both now on the medium tyres. Jake started on the softs, Tom started on the mediums, now both running the yellow stripe tyres. And it's for the time being the Season 4 champion, staying ahead of the Season 3 champion with Formula Cream in hot pursuit. Team Monaco on those soft compound tyres. Needs to try and regroup after that little tete-a-tete between himself and Cream on the previous lap, and get himself back into the zone and back into the game. Alex Gillen still holding station in 6th position ahead of GB. Penalties being thrown out now. F1 Alex with a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. The 3rd driver to do so, technically 4th, because Adam Sanderson also had a 3-second penalty, but he has now been eliminated from the action, and it is just those 3 drivers remaining. Dale now up to 12 seconds worth of penalties. I remember, I think it was Patterson in an F2 race at Zandvoort a few seasons ago that picked up 43 seconds worth of penalties, so that might be the record that Dale's trying to break.
And it was spot on to him if he can do it. I think when Alex Gillen goes to sleep tonight, he's just going to see the neon green of a kick Sauber being stuck behind Formula Kai all day long so far. Be looking to try and make some progress and get through there. Formula Karim, though, he's going to be looking to try and get back to where he was earlier on in the race, working together with Meraki, maintaining and managing this race as Adam Sanderson leaves the lobby after that DNF earlier on. Tom gets past Meraki, though, in the slipstream with the DRS, and we'll head down to the final corner, but we'll see who comes out on top as they head down in towards the first corner now. Team Marduk still on the back of this train. Formula Kai just dropping off ever so slightly, but still within half a second of the rest of the guys up at the front. And here comes Meraki looking to try and take back the lead of the race. Karim wants to get involved in it as well. Can he get past the Alpine? Not quite. He's got to back out of that one, and he just stays ahead of Team Marduk. Has a little switchback though, heading down in towards turn 4. It's a difficult overtaking opportunity. He's going to try it though, round the outside of turn 4. Can he hold it? He's going to try it. Tom leaves the space, and I don't think he's going to pull it off, and he doesn't. But now Team Marduk has a little look on the inside, but through sector 1, it's pretty much one line for all of here, and he's got to wait now in towards the banked hairpin.
Well, I was wincing there. For a moment, it looked like neither driver was going to back out, and as it resulted, both drivers attempted to almost back out, leaving the space. As down into turn 13, Alex Gillen aggressively defending 6th place ahead of GB, puts him offline coming through the rest of turn 13, but GB was slightly out of kilter as well. Remember, he's on the red strap soft tyre, so will be desperate to try and make up places ASAP. But yeah, Team Avada trying to get back involved. Formula Cream also tucked right underneath the rear wing of Tom here. They've managed to close back up to Meraki, and with the DRS flap open, Tom's slightly vulnerable, and this could be a couple of places picked up for the new championship leader. Gets one ahead of Tom, dangles the nose of that McLaren up the inside into turn 22, and just about gets the position one and done. But look who's now lurking behind. TM Marduk's up into 2nd place, couple of places picked up by the Mercedes also, and this is going to be incredibly tight. Kai comes out of absolutely nowhere. Have you ever seen the like in the Creator Series? 7 cars separated by what's about half a second. Jake finds himself now down in 7th position, and out of all of this, tell me how it's happened. TM Marduk now leads the race.
From Alex Gillen as well. Formula Kai is having a look down the outside in towards turn 1. Also looks like GB. What a drive he's having, up to P5 at the moment. Kai holds it from Tom in P2, and now will be looking to go on the attack. This is exactly what Team Marduk needed to do. He's running the soft tyres. He needs to push like hell at the start of this restart from the safety car, get into a lead managing position, and then just back everybody up as his tyres start to drop off and work it from here. GB needs to do the same as well. He's running in 5th place. He's doing exactly that. Alex Gillen sadly unable to capitalize on that run in towards the final corner. Unfortunately, just didn't have enough battery for the start finish straight to hold on to P2, and has now dropped down in towards 4th position. London Oba now finally leaving the session, but here comes Formula Karim, also one of the big losers out of all of that. Has dropped down into 5th now, going on the attack of GB to take that back from him, and he does, into 5th position now, on the charge to get himself back up the front and hunt down his championship rival, TM Marduk.
Got to get his elbows out after being shuffled out really by all of the other drivers in that train. Somehow Meraki, Formula Cream, who were leading that group at one point, now finding themselves right at the back of it, although Cream getting back ahead of GB just there, still not making the most of those soft tyres. GB actually a little bit wide there and going to leave himself vulnerable to a couple of cars behind. First of all, it's going to be Meraki reviving on the scene. Razin Chai, another former champion, getting in the mixer as well. Those are going to be 3 wide in the battle for 6th, 7th and 8th. Formula Kai now leading this race. Team Marduk from 1st down into 3rd, although still side by side with Tom Beener, the 2 drivers that battled for the Season 3 champion, battling once more coming out of the final corner to end lap number 16. Alex Gillen getting involved as well, sniffing an opportunity to try and put some pain on some of his main rivals. Down the inside has a look with Gillen. Kareem way too late on the brakes, locking the rears. Contact between himself and Tom, both of them keeping it pointing on the straight and narrow. Meraki being shuffled down once again. He's now 8th place. Razin's come out of absolutely nowhere after starting from 19th on the grid, dangling the nose of the Scarlet Ferrari. Down the inside of 4 is GB. We have a safety car. I don't know what it's for. It might be Dale who spun coming out of turn 2. Yes, it is. That ends what was a fantastic battle between, 9 cars in that leading group. Yes, no front wing on the front of that Red Bull car. I wonder if he's just going to throw it into the barrier now and potentially end his day slightly early. Drifting through turn 4. Does he end up in Lando Norris corner? No, he does not. But will most certainly be returning to the pits. And once again, we predicted it, 5 or 6 laps after the first safety car, we have our second.
I'm quite sad this safety car's come out, because that racing was incredible. We had pretty much the half field scrapping away, but also keeping it clean. The driving stance from all of them, well done. Take a bow, because that was absolutely incredible. Fantastic driving between all of them. Insane battles throughout the field. And we're going to get a replay now of, I believe, what happened to Alex Gillen on lap 15. It goes side by side. So this is the overtake from how Alex got up into P2, I believe. So he just looks to the outside, going down in towards the long corner, right around the outside of almost everybody. And all of a sudden, he finds himself in second place. Fantastic driving from everybody to leave space. Of course, those are the rules in Creator Series. If there is a driver that you're alongside with, you have to leave space. I would like to see that replay as well of Adam Sanderson's DNF and what happened to him. I'm sure we'll get that under this safety car running, and what happened to Mr. Dale as well. I believe I saw maybe Melanie with a broken front wing. So it'll be interesting to see whether she comes into the pits as well. It could just be the dark front wing of the Williams, though, that was just a little bit deceiving. As F1 Alex comes into pits, as does Infratic, for a front wing change. So maybe a little bit more kerfuffling happening further down the field, and that's what caused the safety car. Multiple wave yellows in multiple zones.
Yeah, Safso in as well. I'm not 100% sure whether Safso is actually back in the lobby or not. We'll have to wait and see. Here's what happened to Adam Stanson in the second Mercedes, avoiding what is now Lolin over apex at turn 4, but coming through 5. Did he get a tap there from behind, potentially? Not 100% sure. Was a weird reaction to the car, and then does get collected by not one but two cars as he was stranded in the middle of the circuit. And that is the second driver taking an early shower.
Yeah, certainly for Adam Sanderson. That smile, that laughter going on, just slowly turned into a smile of disappointment there from Adam Sanderson. Shame for him because he showed some really great pace over the course of the season. Look forward to seeing him back for the Mystery Grand Prix next week. And Fratic's had one hell of a day as well because he's been up and down the field so many times. He's been into the pits for multiple front wing changes. He'll be hoping that's his last, but knowing in Fratic's luck, it probably won't be. But two drivers who've been having an incredible race though, Razin Shai and GB. Very disappointing qualifying from both of them, right down at the back of the field, but GB up into 7th, Razin now up into 6th, and they are certainly in the fight for the lead because they have the pace with those guys at the front. And with all the fighting that's going on, I think anyone in the top 10 has a chance.
100%. Even Nick Flies was right in the thick of it as well.
Well, I don't know,
right
that one might be pushing it.
But... hey, but we've seen stranger things happen. And here is Dale. Maybe this is going to be something strange going on. Late on the brakes, almost clatters into the rear of F1 Alex and then decides to use the barrier as the brake rather than the brake pedal and losing that front wing and bringing out the safety car. But he's managed to get that fixed up and has just about, or will very shortly catch up to the back of the Snake so he can go for the third time in this Grand Prix. Lap number 18, we are just finishing. We're not even halfway through this race, which is absolutely outstanding if you consider the racing we have had. And Tom was probably the unluckiest driver last week, with the exception of Tom 97 as well. Not a good day to be called Tom. A double puncher in race 1 and unfortunately timed safety car in race 2, cruelly robbing him of, said 2 good results. I would potentially say 2 race victories, at least 2 podiums.
They say bad things come in threes. Will we get another one here today at Saudi Arabia? He's currently running in 4th. He's been having a fantastic race right at the front so far, but we know in Creator Series how quickly things can change, especially as you get towards the latter stages. The racing's been excellent so far, but the elbows will get out a little bit more as the race develops and gets on, and the egos of these creators will start to get to them, and they'll start to fight it out on track. So hopefully for Tom it doesn't work out that way and he gets on the bad end of that, but we'll have to wait and see as we've still got 30 laps of this race left to go. Krim in 5th position at the moment. He'll be looking for better. Meraki has been having a fantastic race, bar the last 4 laps. When the elbows got out earlier on with all those other drivers getting into the mix, it just seemed like being the leader, losing out on DRS and everybody wanting to burn battery at the same time. He really came off badly from all of that, down in 9th position, but can recover from down there as well, because as we've seen in this race, with it being so close, anything can happen.
Yeah, and Jake does have a reputation for being maybe a little bit passive in battle, especially compared to some of the drivers that he is racing. If you look at the top 3, all of them, probably the most 3 aggressive drivers on the grid in Kai, Tim Marnick and Alex Gillen respectively. So maybe that just contributing to why Meraki got shuffled down a little bit. Obviously was leading, started on pole, now down in 9th place. They're going to have to do some very decent work in this next stint to try and work his way back through. Safety car in this lap, and for the second time in the Creator Series, it will be Formula Kai that will lead us away.
Yeah, Formula Kai in the kickstart, but Alex Gillen still seeing that neon green in the distance. He'll be hoping not to see it at the end of this race and be ahead of it, but time will tell. Formula Kai, can he get over those early season jitters? Can he lead from the front and keep himself up in the front battle as well as this race goes on? But will be TM and Mardik on those soft tyres? Have they reached the end of their tether Only time will tell, as we'll get underway very shortly, and when Formula Kai decides to go racing again.
Backing the pack up to some tune, and now bolting and catching Team at Monaco a little bit unawares. Look at that incredible restart from the Kick Sauber, yet to win a race so far in his Creator Series career. Does have a pole position at Monaco, but this is a completely different kettle of fish, and leaving Team at Monaco to deal with Alex Gillen, who has a little look up the inside into turn number 1, but thinks better of it. And now that Team at Monaco's done a bit of a stint on those soft tyres, they are probably going to be second best to the medium runners. So watch this space. Ben could leak a couple of places. Battle's going on at the back. I see a Williams with front wing damage. Yes, on both end plates. I think that's Melanie missing a decent chunk of the front wing, and now that's representative of just a plank of wood left on the front of that Williams car. So that'll be returning down pit road at the end of this lap, and Dale just getting a little bit caught short by that. Stuck underneath the rear wing of the slightly ailing Williams through the S's of the first sector, not the place where you want to be stuck behind a wounded Formula 1 car.
Melanie driving my car, so it's no surprise to see it with front wing damage, because that's pretty much the way I've been driving most of the season. So that car is very much used to it at the moment. Mr. Dale on the now got past Melanie there and up into 17th position. He'll be looking to have a better race from where he's been so far, as Kai, with that bolt away on the safety car restart, has got out of the DRS window, has a 1.1 second lead. He needs to really push here and hope the team at Marduk's tyres have started to die off, and he can extend that lead and stay out of danger from those drivers. But safety cars are pretty much still inevitable with 30 laps left to go, and I'm sure the gaps are going to close back in. But Alex Gillen will be looking to capitalise on that as soon as possible, and he's going for it now in towards the hairpin. No, he doesn't. He just has a little sniff, waiting maybe on the battery to then burn it all down in towards turn 1 and really push through the first sector. He doesn't want to be behind Team at Marduk on those older soft tyres through that first sector. But for Team at Marduk, he'll be wanting to keep all of these drivers behind him, and I think he's going to do it, and he does.
Well, something unprecedented might have to happen here. Team at Marduk and Alex Gillen may have to try and work together to get back towards Formula Kai, who has got that gap over 1 second. DRS enabled, and Ben will not have it come the next DRS straight unless he can get that gap back under the 1 second mark. And we're still very equidistant from second all the way down to probably 10th place, with Dakovitz a little bit detached off the back of Meraki, and actually GB as well, also struggling on the soft compound tyres, as the reigning champion is nearly a second off the back of Razin Chai, Nagera, and in particular Meraki will be desperate to try and come through. Yellow flag thrown in the first sector. I think that could be the Red Bull of Dale in the Barrett. We catch it absolutely perfectly. There is safety car number 3. Dale's race ending early once more. That is now 41 retirements in the Creator Series, and we are down to 17 as Dale, not for the first time, getting involved in a bit of a bump, a bit of a scrape, and ending his night early.
Formula Kai was probably praying for the impossible there, for there not to be a safety car for the rest of this Creator Series race. But Kai, come on, it's Creator Series. There's always going to be a safety car, and there is. Dale, sadly, even with what is a supposedly the wrong setup and cheating, is out of the races, and Melanie has got a drive-through for speeding under the safety car. Will have to come in and serve that drive-through after this safety car period as well. Kai will be still at the front. Alex Gillen in second, in third, with Team Marduk in second. Now it'll be interesting to see which drivers come into pits, because that's the third safety car. We did have a VSC, but that was together with a safety car. As Team at Marduk does decide to come into pits, Kai doesn't, and it looks like Team at Marduk, the lonesome, coming into the pits. Maybe GB will follow him. Yes, he does on those soft tyres, as well as does Noguera. And that seems to be the only drivers into the pits, of course, wanting to get rid of those tyres. They're going to be at the back of this field. It's going to be difficult for them, but they are going to have that tyre advantage now to really punch through it, as does Zafso, who disconnected. But look at him. He's up into P10. He's on 4 laps compared to the rest of them. Zafso's still got a chance. Yeah,
the best tyres of anybody, really, in this leading group of 12 now that Team Marduk and Nagera have just come out of the pits, and Nagera actually getting the jump on GB in the pit lane. So maybe there was a bit of damage there that the Aston Martin had to try and get fixed while he was stationary in his box. And there's actually 5 seconds off the back of Nagera, so that probably tells me that he did pick up a little bit of front wing damage somewhere, and this was the prime opportunity for him to get that fixed up. But it's now Formula Kai with a very familiar foe sat right underneath his rear wing. Alex Gillen will be the driver that will be challenging him once the safety car peels off into the pits. Tom continuing on in third. Remember, he has used both of his sets of medium tyres for the race, so realistically it's going to be soft from the end once he makes his next pit stop. Formula Kareem in fourth, and Razin Chai, who started from 19th, let's not forget, threw it into the barriers on his first flying lap of the session, now finds himself for the first time up into the top 5.
Yeah, don't count out Razin Chai for this race win. He's having a phenomenal race so far. as those drivers into pits. Zafso, I'm just trying to watch on board with Zafso to see whether he's making any robotic movements. We obviously saw earlier on that he was booted out of the session as typical style from Zafso's internet. So we're trying to see now, is he still AI or is he back in the session? I believe I saw him come back in, but sometimes when you come back in, you're not able to take control of the car. So it'd be interesting to see whether that's actually him or it is the AI. No, I'm getting news from our clip book that he's all good and he is racing. So Zafso is back in the car. It's not Zafbot. And this could be a great comeback drive from Zafso. He's currently in 10th at the moment and see what he can do on those better tyres compared to the drivers in front. And now, of course, everybody bunched up together. But safety cars breed safety cars. And for some of these drivers who love the strategical element of the races, having more safety cars in this middle period of the race is going to allow us that, because you get a maximum of 6. That includes virtual safety cars. If we get to past that maximum of 6, there'll be no more safety cars come out, despite how many drivers crash into the barriers. So we could potentially have that strategical element race and not just get a 2-lap sprint race, which we have had in the recent races before. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But up at the front, I can't see that happening because the driving standards have actually been incredible from the top guys.
Yeah, I would say that all of them have been bulletproof, and then I remember Lolinoba taking the lead and almost instantaneously throwing it into the fence and ending his day on lap number 10. So not entirely bulletproof, all of them right at the sharp end. But if you take the racing we saw between the first and second safety car, it was absolutely outstanding. 8 or 9 cars battling over one piece of track. Have you ever seen the like in the F1 Creator Series? Creator Series 2.0, we could say. Don't try and talk to me now about dirty driving, because that was something special indeed. And I think we're going to see something similar once the safety car comes in, because you've got Team Marduk, you've got Nagera and GB and F1 Alex as well, all on fresh rubber right at the back of the pack, and they will be carving their way through this field. Ben is very adept at making his way through the pack very efficiently, not always the cleanest to make it through the pack, but usually does get the job done. Nagera and GB, it's a little bit more of an unknown, but if we take the first stint of this race, GB starting from 17th, found himself battling with the front runners within the first 15 laps, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him inside the top 10 in a couple of laps' time.
3 DNF so far in this race. Only 6 more to go to equal our record of 9 that we had in Saudi Arabia in Season 3. Potential up and down the field from a lot of drivers to do it, in all fairness. We're only 23 laps in, and the battles are going to get closer and closer. The safety car is going to be coming in this lap, and it's Formula Kai leading away. It'll be interesting to see whether he does the same thing. I mean, Alex Gillen wasn't the driver right behind him, but maybe he'll be wise to it. It was a wise time to go. You know, as you launch your way through that final corner, take a wide line, look like you're weaving, and then absolutely put your foot to the floor, and away you go. But if you go too early and the other driver is wise to it, it's an easy overtaking opportunity down in towards the first corner with the slipstream. So let's see how Formula Kai plays it.
Will it be the same tactic, or will he try something different? And what can Alex Gillen do in response? I think he is going for a very similar tactic, and it's worked not quite as well as it did before, but still got himself 6/10 of a second over the V-carb in front as Kai buried his right foot into the floor. And we start lap number 24. Still everybody not halfway through this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix as we kickstart another stint in this race as we prepare for what will be the 4th safety car period, surely coming in 5 or 6 laps time. Kai leading from Gillen, Tom Formula Cream and Razin rounding out our top 5. How quickly can the reigning champion Tim Marduk, Nagera and GB fight their way back through the field and find themselves squabbling once more with the leading contenders? Everything looking very orderly as it did on lap 1, but everything will change. It probably will change, yeah.
Watching Zafso now through the first sector, really riding those curves, got the best tyres of anybody inside the top 10. Let's see how he progresses through the field. Zafso, you know, usually one of the more passive drivers on the grid, but in recent races has been really pushing it. So let's see. Scott Taylor's the first one on his radar, and can he work his way through? Formula Kai, whilst he did have a great lead down into the first corner, it's come down to 0.3 of a second. It's not quite broken the 1 second like he did last time, and Alex Gillen is going to be really wanting to fight for this lead. Tom's still in there, and Formula Krim as well, with his championship rival down in 13th place, who is now on that second set of medium tyres, I believe, from Team Marduk. So let's see how that plays out. No, sorry, that's his first set of medium tyres. But we're watching on board still with Zafso. Heading now down in towards this long left-hander. Nogueira picks up a 3-second time penalty, and it's not good for his race. His race going from bad to worse. Here comes Alex Gillen on Formula Kai. Does he have a look at the first opportunity? No, he does not. It took him a while to get past TM Marduk. Is he going to have the same problem against Formula Kai? Now, they're all running the same setups. There's no case of who's running lower wings, who's running higher. They've all got the fixed setup on their car. Can he have a look on Formula Kai down to the first corner? Again, he just can't do it on those medium tyres, unable to get past Kai, and has to settle for second place for the time being.
Yeah, and settling, I think, is the best word. Look, very happy just to sit in behind the kick salvo down into turn number one. Not quite as desperate to get past Kai as he was in the opening salvos of this Grand Prix, where they were battling incredibly hard over 6th and 7th places, now fighting over 1st and 2nd. And what should be noted as well, Formula Kai, halfway through this race, is on 2 corner-cutting warnings. One more, and he will get the same punishment that Scott Taylor has just picked up, a 3-second penalty. Scott doing a decent job actually as well, currently finding himself in 9th place in this race, just behind the McLaren of Nick Flyers and ahead of some very serious contenders as well. No progress yet for Ben, Nogueira or GB. Nogueira picking up a 3-second penalty on the previous turn as well, but Formula Cream very close indeed to the back of Tom Biener going through turns 15, 16 and 17, and potentially shaping up for a move any time now.
Yeah, Tom looking on the back of Alex Gillen, but he's also got to watch out for Formula Karim on his tail as well. Razin Shai, great race from him up into P5 at the moment, and he's also right on the back of this battle. It seems to be the way amongst these guys in the lead. They just kind of, switch positions a little bit, but then a couple of laps later, there's 5 of them absolutely fighting down in towards the final corner and seeing who can come out on top. It is Alex Gillen who leads the way down in towards the first corner. He won't get that advantage of DRS down towards here, but Formula Kai will get that instead. Might be able to take that position back. Really aggressively goes defensive as Tom looking to find his way through. Alex breaks late. Is it too late? Yes, it is. And he's going to have to lose out a lot of positions. That's down to Karim Razin. He's dropped down to 5th. He's going to be side by side with Meraki in towards turn 4. He backs out of that one. Meraki on the inside. And that is a very rare mistake there from Alex Gillen to go way too deep into the first corner. He went aggressive on the inside, but the problem with you doing that is you keep yourself blind to the brake marker boards on the right-hand side at the top of the circuit on the railing. And I think that's just what happened to him. He just got unsighted to the brake marker board on the inside, broke a little bit too late, and unfortunately now has lost him 5-6 positions in this race. Tom leads the way in that motion sim, and being reminded by Gareth that it's not the only mistake he's done. Remember, race midweek in PSGO F2 where he jumped the start, got a drive-through penalty, and all of that went in the bin. But Meraki now up to 5th. Razin Shai, great race, up in a P4 at the moment.
Yeah, Alex will be delighted that we're not racing at Mexico anytime soon. Through goes Formula Kai and through goes Formula Cream, both FK drivers up into 1st and 2nd respectively. Now as Tom shuffled down a couple of spots, now for the first time in this race, he's going to have a little bit of argy-bargy potentially with his teammate, the 2 champion teammates of Season 3 and Season 5. Cream very slow though, coming out of turn number 24. Is going to lose a couple of places. Both Alpines trying to stick their teeth into the Papai McLaren, who's potentially a little bit wounded on the outside. Tom battling with Karim, who has an absolutely outstanding exit coming out of turn number 27. Does a very decent job of holding on to 2nd place for the time being. Resume the incredible battles we saw earlier on in this Grand Prix as Karim diving around the outside, dancing around the outside of Formula Kai. That is picture book stuff as he takes the lead for the first time in about 15 or so laps. Kai slipping down to 2nd with the 2 Alpines very much in hot pursuit. Gillen still paying the price of his big blunder. But look at this, from 2nd down to 7th, all of them separated by 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, and look at Zafso in 8th position, working his way through the field still now. Needs to get past that guy Vince, who has got a 3-second time penalty to his name, but Vince on the tail of Alex Gillen as well. But Zaf will be looking to work his way to the top, and this is what I was saying earlier. They're well behaved for 2-3 laps, and then after that they get a little bit impatient. They're like, do you know what, I want to be the driver that leads this train. They're all burning the battery to get there. Karim now trying to push away, 5/10 gap now to Formula Kai. Can he break to the 1 second? It's very difficult here around Jeddah because you just have so many DRS zones to pull those drivers back in. And that's exactly what Formula Kai is going to be doing now. He's going to be using that DRS to his advantage to close back up to Formula Karim and maybe go for an overtake in towards the final turn. It's Formula Karim from to Formula Kai. Then it is Tom, Razin and Meraki in the top 5 at the moment, but that's not the only ones in this battle. Gillen's in there too with that guy Vince Zafso. Even Scott Taylor's there. Even Finfratic's there as well in the top 10. As here they go once again into the final corner. Kai on the inside, Karim on the outside. Can Tom go for a switchback? He's going to try it as Karim gets very close to the wall there on the outside, but I don't think he got picked up any damage as Tom's getting a fantastic slipstream off Formula Kai. He hasn't got any DRS, has Kai, so it's going to be a 3-way battle down towards the first corner. Tom around the outside. Can Kai keep it on the inside? Yes, he can. Round. But Razin is round, and it's the front wing gone. He's not holding the brakes, and he may have lost his front wing, but I think he's taken about 10 other drivers' front wings with him as well. The kick salvo was nearly done for as well there as well, and it's a is a virtual safety car. How many times can you say as well? That was incredible. That guy Vince picking up a 10-second time penalty, as does Nogueira as well. So penalties being given galore. It's a virtual safety car, not a full safety car. So that's going to really hinder those drivers who have just picked up some front wing damage. And Razin Shaip having an incredible race. Unfortunately, it's all in the bin. And he's down in 16th. And I think we've got maybe one more safety car left to go. Although I'm being told by Gareth that we've been all used up. But I think one of those virtual safety cars turned into a safety car. So it counts as one.
Well, it's going to be very interesting if somebody does throw it into the barrier. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Razin undoing all of that really good work. Just a little bit too late on the brakes down to turn number 1. Locking the rears and trying the reverse entry drift into turns 1 and 2. And I don't think he would have made a lot of friends by doing that one, collecting quite a few victims. But I think that top 5 have all managed to come through unscathed. Look at Fabio up in P5. Mr. Consistent Alex Gillen, as the race gets going once more. A 100% jump start record in PSGL. That looked like Formula Cream slamming into the barrier coming out of turn number 23. Don't think it was quite as dramatic as it looked on the camera lens. But we're going once more. Tom with a 7/10 advantage over Kai Kareem, Alex Gillen and Fratic. Tim Malik hasn't benefited too much from this either. Maybe had to run off the circuit. He's dropped behind Nogueira and is currently holding 11th place.
Be really interested to find out who has front wing damage now in this race, because Razin wasn't the only one. He definitely came back on the track. I think it's those drivers further down the field, but could it have potentially affected championship contender TMM Marduk and GB down there in 10th and 11th? They might have just got away with that one. The other championship contender, Formula Krim, 3rd position on the hunt of Formula Kai and Tom, who leads the way in this race. Alex Gillen 4th. Infratic gained massively from that. He's up to 5th, and he is flying as well. So he's definitely going to be having a smile on his face at the moment. Zafso, I think one of the biggest losers out of that, sadly, has dropped down into 9th place and maybe picked up a little bit of front wing damage. He's on the back of Nogueira, who picks up a 10-second time penalty for a collision, in fact, with the V-Carb driver of Zaf. So back to the front then. And it is Formula Crims. We're going to get a replay now of exactly what happened to Razin. So, sitting in 4th place, goes for a look up the inside, locks up the rear tyres, maybe potentially actually got a punt from the rear. And unfortunately just goes round. He's in the worst position you possibly can be. Not really too much you can do. Maybe could have held the brakes a little bit longer. But even then, it was a difficult position to be in, and very lucky to still be running in this race. We'll be praying for another safety car to get himself back in.
Absolutely. The safety car dance will be being done at Alpine headquarters, but for one of them, they're leading the race, although Formula Kai has something to say about that, pushing Tom down into 2nd place. Alex Gillen throwing it up the inside of a couple of cars. Contact between the RB, the McLaren, and the Alpine. And Alex Gillen just having to get out of it on the exit of turn 27, and that enables Tom to move back up, into 2nd position. Formula Cream down into 4th. Alex Gillen, though, sensing an opportunity maybe to get the lead of this race back. Still side by side, having it out with Tom down into the braking zone of turn 1. Inside becomes the outside of turn number 2, and still going to have it out with the Alpine on his outside going into turn number 4. I think Alex Gillen should be in the ascendancy here on the inside. Will Tom back out? Neither driver doing it. And I tell you what, that is absolutely out of this world from Tom around the outside. Alex Gillen maybe a little bit too cautious and leaving himself exposed potentially to an assault from Formula Cream behind, but repels it.
That was beautiful driving there from Tom and Alex Gillen. Go side by side through turn 4, not hit the barrier, not hit each other, not push Tom off and give him a warning. Incredible. Someone who would have loved that as well is Formula Kai. That gap extending now to 7/10 of a second. Can he break the 1 second margin as they get towards the DRS detection point? I think he's just going to be within it is Tom, and he is. 6/10 is the gap between those two. So sadly, whilst it was a great battle between those two, and Kai would have been loving that, he would have hoped that it would have gone on for a little bit longer for them to break the 1 second and him to ditch those drivers. Krim now only 1/10 behind Alex Gillen. Is going to be sniffing an overtake in the next couple of corners. Will they all go again now down and towards the final turn? It has been fantastic battles from all the drivers up and down the field. And here comes Karim on the attack of Alex Gillen as Tom goes on the attack of Formula Kai. They're going to go for a 4-way battle once again in towards the final corner, potentially in towards turn 1 as Alex looks up the inside. It's side by side between these two once more through the final corner. Great respect given between Alex Gillen and Tom as they now head down in towards the first corner. But here comes Formula Karim, the championship leader, as he heads now down in towards the first turn. Kai still leads the way, and whilst these drivers are battling behind him, this is perfect for him because it allows him just to stay in that perfect bubble of staying in P1. As Infratic just waiting in the wings, holding P5, and just watching what happens in front of him. Going, do you know what, you boys, feel free to fight. If you take each other out, it's more positions for me.
100%, and Ben right back in the game as well, just 0.8 of a second now off the back of Fabio in front. I'll be honest, I think Tom, potentially the master of his own downfall there, was recharging all the way down the back straight before we got to turn 27. First, Alex Gillen saying, "Thank you very much, I'll have a piece of that," and Formula Cream doing the same, which is why the Alpine now finds himself from second down into fourth, when he should have potentially been challenging Formula Kai in front, or at least staying as close as he possibly could to the back of the Kick Sauber on the run down into turns 1 and 2. Meraki's still in this also, but his race pace, we've said it a couple of times, his race pace just doesn't look particularly strong at this stage. GB's caught up to the back of the pole sitter as well. He's outside 1 second of Tia McMardick in front. And this race just continuing to head southward for the Season 4 champion, as he does now find himself in 8th place.
Yeah, I wonder with Meraki whether he was caught up in that instant with Razin, because of course we haven't had a full safety car, an opportunity for all the drivers to get a free pit stop and change a front wing if there is any damage that is occurring there for those drivers. Karim overtakes Kai and regains the lead of this race as Infratic is up into a podium spot at the moment. That's one thing I don't want. I have a great rivalry with Infratic through the Creator Series. We always seem to find each other on track. If he gets a podium in a race that I'm commentating, he won't let me forget it. But let's see how this race unfolds for him. He's having a fantastic drive so far, and he'll be wanting it to continue, especially after having 2 front wing changes in the race. What a story it has been for him so far. But here comes a championship contender. TM Marduk right on the back of that Scarlet Ferrari. He's on fresh tyres. He's got 4 laps younger than Infratic, but it's 11 laps younger than the top 3, and he's going to be really pushing now to get himself to the front and hoping that there are no more safety cars, which potentially there might not be because we've had so many in this race.
Absolutely. Everybody going to have to make at least 1 more stop, and this is a net P5 for Tim Malik now. Infratic asking why Gillen was doing that. I'm probably saying something similar because the Season 2 champion was all over the show coming into the final corner of turn number 27. Found himself having a big tail snap coming out of it as well, and allowing his old mate Tim Malik to file straight past and relegating down into 6th position. Formula Kai still holding the lead out in front with 18 laps of this Grand Prix remaining, but Formula Cream menacing in the rear-view mirrors of that Kick Sauber, coming like an absolute missile up to the back of the lime green car, but not quite close enough to make a move, an ambitious move, I think it's best to say, down into turn number 21. But Kai all the way over to the right-hand side of the circuit, and now I think he's probably going to roll the red carpet out for Kareem with the DRS lap open. Tom very much in the ballpark as well. Now moving over to the middle goes Kai. Kareem made to go the long way around. Fabio sticking his nose up the inside of Tom, who was slightly offline coming into the final corner, and this is incredibly close once more. It's Blink, and you'll miss it stuff. Tim Mark is technically off the circuit there. Penalties were handed out in qualifying, trying to force his way past Infratic. Alex Gillen is most certainly up the inside as well. Contact down into turn number 1 between Kai, between Kareem, Tom as well. Ben dancing around the outside, trying to get ahead of his former Ferrari teammate Infratic, who's holding station very nicely in 4th for the time being. Kareem now leads the way. Kai falls off the circuit, but hangs it out around the outside of Tom. Then comes Fabio, Ben, Alex Gillen, and GB now cruising up to the back of what is now a 7-car scrap for the lead.
Ben, look at the inside of Fabio there in turn 4, potentially dangerous for both of them, because Fabio respectively gave room on turn 4, but then just hindered both of them as Timo Mardi now has a look in towards the banked hairpin. Has he got the position done? They're side by side. We can't see it now. We cut on board. They go wheel to wheel. Fabio not wanting to give this position to his former teammate. And why should he? He's also got young tyres compared to the drivers in front of him, and he wants to be in this battle. He wants to be in this fight and give himself a great opportunity for a podium position. Timo Marduk needs to get past him as soon as possible to maximise his chances of getting to the front as we head towards the corner where they all love to scrap it out, as Formula Cream has a 7-tenth lead over Formula Kai. Tom is just chilling, but he's all over the back of that Kick Sauber now as they are separated by minimal margins as they head down now in towards this final corner. Who's going to get the better of each other? They all close up once and more, and it is Tiamat Marduk having a look once again up the inside of Infratic. There was a little bump between the Ferrari and the Alpine. Is that going to be damage? I think Fabio's just about got away from it. Tiamat Marduk squeezes Alex Gillen on the inside like he was squeezed from Fabio the lap previously. Fabio now squeezing Alex Gillen, goes up the inside of the Ferrari. It's 3 wide between him, Fabio, and the Alpine of Tom, and it looks like Tom is going to come off worse as Fabio moves up in towards a podium position once again. Alex is in 4th. It's him and Tom going wheel to wheel through turn 4 once again. A little loss of traction from the V-carb as they go through turn 4-5, and it looks like they've all slotted into position as they head through the single file sector 1. It is Formula Krim who leads the way from Formula Kai. Infratic's on the podium. Tom's in 4th. Alex is in 5th. And Tiamat Marduk, our championship leader, our reigning champion, in P6.
Well, how racy is Alex Gillen tonight? Certainly getting his elbows out, launching it up the inside of turn 1. I don't think he'll be particularly pleased with the amount of space he was afforded at the apex of turn number 1, but they were 3 wide, of course, so all 3 drivers were slightly compromised on the run down into the heavier braking zone, one of the heaviest braking zones on this circuit, of course. Again, still finding himself inside the top 5, just ahead of Ben and GB, although they are very close indeed to the back of that RB car. Gillen slightly wide there through 22. That could allow Tim Marlick the opportunity he wants to try and get back ahead of his former co-op rival, as Formula Kai is now going to take the lead back away from the Papaya McLaren of Formula Cream. Still hanging out are Gillen and Tim Marlick. It's an absolutely box office battle over 5th and 6th. There was a shoulder barge given out by Ben on the previous lap at this exact moment, but this time keeping their hands very much off each other. Infratic fancies a chance at potentially leading this race. Darting all over the place in the background goes Ben, goes Alex Gillen. Kai and Kareem still having to battle it out for the lead of the race. I think there was a car very much sideways behind. It's Tom trying to muscle his way through. Excellent run out of turn 2 for Formula Cream in front. Tim Marlick pushing Infratic, pushing Tom in front of them. The Alpine is the driver this time that runs off the circuit through turn number 4. It's Kareem from Kai. That's the thing we do know. Meraki with the fastest lap of the race. He's been down pit road. Ben slightly offline, running slightly wide. Gillen for a moment thought about sticking his nose up the inside of the Mercedes, but thinking it would end in an aeroplane crash, and I think he would have been absolutely correct in thinking about that. Kareem now nearly with a second over Kai, who does have 1.3 seconds over Infratic, who is fighting for his absolute life here with a very angry group of cars in his mirrors.
Yeah, he's also got a broken front wing, got front wing damage through turn 2, just tapping the back of either Karim or Kai through that corner, so he's struggling now. Whilst he was running so well and potentially in a fight for a podium position, it's all potentially going to fall away from him. Tom right on the back, but he's been doing a great job to give a gap to Formula Kai and Karim, being that cork in the bottle for the rest of these drivers behind, unable to get past, but now they all need to be impatient. They all need to get past him as quickly as possible in order to not get held up and have a chance for the fight for this win if there are no more safety cars going to be coming their way. Tom gets past. TM Marduk has a look on the inside. Infratic unable to defend from that one. Can GB get through as well? As there's a little tank slapper there from the Scarlet Ferrari. GB now looking all over the back of him as they head down in towards the first corner, and it looks like Infratic with the battery and the DRS might be able to hold on to at least P5. GB unable to have a look up the inside, and no, he cannot. They need to get past him as they go through the technical sector 1, otherwise they're going to lose out a lot of time as Infratic drops down into 5th. And we've got our 2 championship rivals, 2nd and 3rd. Team at Mardik on younger tyres and now back within that DRS 1 second window. We've got a fight on our hands.
We do most certainly indeed, with 15 laps remaining as all of these runners begin to converge on each other once more, as one by one they file past the wounded Ferrari of Fabio. Kareem now almost pushing Kai down into the braking zone of turn number 13, but obviously not going to make a move there, but he has to be careful because he's got Tim Marlick very close behind him indeed. Here is a replay of what befell Infratic. He was very close, thinking about maybe taking the lead into turn 1, going for the switchback, but just clattering into the rear of Formula Kai, who was a little bit unstable on the exit of 2 as well. And Fabio just fairly unfortunate there in the things that were unfolding in front of him. DRS flap open for Formula Cream, and Formula Kai saying, take this one, mate, waves the white flag, and through goes our championship leader, but our reigning champion also arriving on the scene.
Yeah, Infratic probably not at fault for that one, at least in his mind. I think for the rest of us, we will probably say that was his fault. But for him, he did nothing wrong, and the damage was not on him. But unfortunately, he's going to be dropping like a stone in water in this race, down to 6th already. Alex Gillen will be having a sniff on this lap as Team Marduk right behind the kick of Formula Kai. I'll be looking to get past him as soon as possible, but Kai with the DRS following Karim down in towards the first corner. Team Marduk's got to do it in the traction zones. That's where he's going to be better. Look at the tyre life between the top 3. Karim and Kai on 26 lap old tyres as Formula Karim picks up a 3-second time penalty in a race where the drivers are so close together. That's crucial. That at the moment can drop him way down into P5 in this race and can hand the championship lead back to TM at Marduk.
But Ben, according to this, is also on 2 corner cutting warnings, so he's very close to getting a penalty as well, as is Formula Kai in second place. So we could be seeing a lot of the leading contenders with 3-second penalties looming over their head tops very, very surely indeed. And the driver in the lead, he's got the advantage, but he does have a significant handicap now being applied to him come the end of this race. Tom and GB might potentially be licking their lips. GB in the same boat as Tim at Marlick strategy-wise, but all of these drivers should be making one more stop between now and the end of the Grand Prix. It's just a matter of when it comes. Only 13 laps remaining.
Down in P12, Meraki started this race from pole position. I think he did pick up front wing damage in that instant with Razin, because he's now 10 seconds off the mark from Negrera, who's in 11th position. He'll be hoping and praying that there's one more safety car left in this race to get him back in it. He's had a lot of luck in this season so far with getting late safety cars and finding himself in podium positions, but it might be the end of the streak in Saudi Arabia for him. A podium in every single race that we've done here, but he's sitting down in P13 with only 13 laps left to go of this race. Team at Marduk now fancies a chance on the top two. He's going to split the middle. No, he's not. He's going to shoot to the left. It's 3 wide. Oh, there's contact. Did he just about tap the barrier on the left-hand side? Karim's been forced off the circuit. Kai is round. And it looks like he might have collected Tom as well. No, Tom just about narrowly avoiding that. Infratic's now back up into 3rd position. GB, who started in 17th place in this race, finds himself in 2nd on the hunt of TM Marduk on the same tyre life as the Mercedes driver as well. And that was chaos. That was absolute chaos. We definitely need a replay to see who was at fault. Was it a late move from TM Marduk? Was it too much of a squeeze from Formula Kaya? We're going to have to break that one down later. But what we do know right now is TM Marduk leads the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
And something else we know is that Formula Cream definitely has front wing damage now as well, missing that left-hand end plate. And this could be his championship starting to fall by the wayside after another collision, another flashpoint in this race between himself and his main championship rival, the reigning champion TM Marduk. I'm not sure whose fault it was. Karim was the innocent bystander all the way over on the outside. And when we do have that replay, it's going to be fascinating to see where the blame can be pointed to, or whether it was just his standard racing instant, as Tom is now going to add insult to injury and try and get 4th place off the hands of Karim. And GB started from 17th in this race, now leading for the very first time, as Tom dancing around the outside of Karim through the final corner of 27, still side by side coming out of it, but now having to consign himself to dropping back a further spot.
For GB and Team at Marduk, they need to, and I'll quote a famous man, work together to get the job done. Bob the Builder, what a guy. GB in 2nd place and Team at Marduk, they got to work on this race to make sure they can build a gap from Infratic, because of course remember he has front wing damage. They can build that 1 second. It's on the verge, on the cusp at the moment, but Tom will be looking to try and pull the rest of them with him to just get down that gap. It's just over 1 second at the moment. It's going to be crucial for these two, because if they can break that 1 second, then they can drive away from the rest of the field and pray that there are no more safety cars. But if you look ahead, you saw a little bit of smoke. There's a driver in front of us. There's a yellow flag. It's Negrera who's gone off the track. Is that to potentially cause a safety car? Is there anything going to come out from that? I'm not too sure what's happened to Negrera down there, but Melanie is potentially going to get in the way of this battle, as she is going to get lapped very soon in this race. Ghosting should be off in this race, as Negrera doing some donuts in the race, purposely maybe trying to cause a safety car. You're not allowed to purposely cause a safety car unless you're going to DNF in the race itself. So it'd be interesting to see, but I don't think that there's going to be, and he's been disqualified for driving the wrong way, and there are potentially no more safety cars left to go in this race, as GB retakes the lead from Team at Marduk, and crucially, Tom back within the DRS range of the front two. So we're going to get a fight once more in this race, but Formula Krim, wounded slightly with that front wing damage, may not have the chance to fight for the win.
And Tom has done really well, you have to say, on all the tyres to keep himself in check, cling onto the coattails of the duo battling in front. I think 7 laps is the difference in the age of the tyre. So very well done, Tom Beanick, clearly hooked up around this circuit and keeping himself very much in the game to get a first win on F124 in the Creator Series. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. Replay coming up. I imagine this is going to be of the Turn 1 skirmish. Of course it is. So it was Ben darting from the middle over to the inside. Oh, when he clipped the inside wall there. I think he was turned in on by Formula Kai, and then there was more contact as the kick-sab was sent into a half spin. That was absolutely fascinating there. Very interesting developments going on. Ben, I think, is a little bit wounded as well. So we're almost on a bit of a level playing field. It's actually GB and Tom that are probably in the best nick of everybody, barring maybe Alex Gillen in this leading group.
Yeah, I wonder whether Ben picks up slight front wing damage there. Not major damage, because it's not, the colour didn't change too much, but it did flash up. So potentially has picked up a slight amount of front wing damage for him. I would love to see that replay on board with Karim from the outside and see whether it was the 3 wide effect. Maybe he turned across Kai, not expecting Ben to be on the inside, and that's what pushed Ben into the barrier. Ben, incredibly lucky not to do what Lolanoba did and just tap the barrier on the inside, slightly ripping off that front tyre. Very lucky to get away with that one and still be in this race, in the fight for the race win. Tom on the back of these guys, and they are catching up to that back marker of Melanie. GB might actually get DRS from Melanie here. No, not quite. It'll be interesting to see how Melanie plays into this. She pulls right out of the way on the inside, and will she get out of the way of everybody? I think she does. Very well played. Tiamat Marduk takes the lead of this race back from GB, and it's Tom in third.
Do you think there's a possibility that drivers are maybe going to try and extend these medium tyres to the end of the race? Tim Marduk and GB probably can get to the end of the race. Another 10 laps to go. Tom has to stop again. He 100% has to pit again. Only use the medium tyres. Has to put on a set of softs at some point. We've already seen Razin and Meraki make their second stops of the Grand Prix. They're down in 11th and 12th respectively. But with Kareem, Alex Gillen, Scott Taylor and Formula Kai all on 30-lap-old mediums, we start to ask the question, are they even going to come into the pits?
Yeah, I think apart from Tom, and I don't know what the tyre percentage is for these drivers on track at the moment, but if the tyre percentage isn't looking too bad, with 9 laps to go, it's not worth the risk. There's not enough time to find the 20 seconds you're going to lose from coming into the pit stop. Tom, unfortunately, is going to be praying for some sort of safety car and hoping that there is one left to go. And there's an easy indication to know if there is not going to be any more safety cars. If there's a yellow flag out on track and they say that, they're not going to bring out the safety car, then there's no more safety cars left available in this race. Tom going from mediums to mediums could potentially shoot himself in the foot here and take him out of this race lead, because he has to make another pit stop. There's no way he can get to the end because he will just get disqualified. GB leads the way at the moment. Tom is in second. You're looking at Tiamat Marduk and GB. There's no need for those guys to pit. For Karim, he's got to hope that these tyres make it to the end. And with the fixed setup, they're putting more and more tyre wear on these cars. And it could become interesting in 8 laps' time.
It's the same with Alex Gillen as well, who we haven't spoken about too much in the last 5 or 6 laps. Maybe he's realised the situation that's going on and decided, you know, I just need to baby these tyres for 5 or 6 laps, get my percentages down a little bit more, and then I might be able to stretch them to the end of the race. But we are getting to the point of no return now for these drivers with the 31 laps on their tyres. Kai, Kareem, Scott Taylor and Alex Gillen, and obviously Tom as well, but he has to come into the pits unless he's going to pick up a welcome disqualification because he decided not to put on the soft compound tyres at any point in this Grand Prix. And of course it hasn't rained as well, so that's not going to be a factor either. Really interesting to see how this plays out. Will we potentially see punctures, because some of these drivers are going to be doing nearly 40 laps on a set of medium tyres in a 50% race?
Yeah, and with the tyre pressures, it's just ramping up the temps on the tyres around it, especially on the rears through the traction zones. The understeering is going to be causing tyre wear on the front, especially the front right around here. So it's something that they're going to have to think about. As I say, the top, or second and third, they're making it to the end. They don't have to worry about that. Tom, 100% has to pit. He started on the mediums. He's gone to mediums. Alex Gillen started on softs, has gone to mediums, so he doesn't have to pit again. But the tyre life is potentially going to be worrying here as Tom gets overtaken by GB. Bog standard overtake between the top two, just maintaining the pace at the moment and not the scraps that we were seeing earlier on from the drivers. As Tom retaking the lead. And I think for Tom, he's made his bed. He's got to lie in it for now and hope and pray there's a safety car that's going to come out at the end of this race and reward him with a chance to go onto some soft tyres like everybody else will most likely do, and then see what can happen from there.
I hate to disappoint him though, but if we didn't get a safety car from Nogueira doing donuts in the runoff area that we have just passed, I don't think we're going to be getting any more safety cars between now and the end of lap number 50. Is GB almost pushing Tom through the S's of the first sector. Brilliant sequence of corners. If you're hooked up, it is absolutely outstanding to drive. So rewarding when you get it right. And it was almost a little bit touch and go there for GB running into the rear of the Alpine in front. Ben still holding station in third, ahead of his main championship rival with that 3-second penalty for Kareem. Ben will retake the lead of the championship, which means he would have only not led the championship for 2 race weekends in the last 2 seasons, which is an exceptional record, especially when you consider he's only won 2 of the Grand Prix so far in season number 9. DRS flap open and the lead changing hands once more as GB snatches it back away from Tom Biener on lap 43.
I think with the safety car, there is still potential for one more. I think with the Nogueira doing donuts, whilst yes, you would expect that to bring out the safety car, because he didn't break off his front wing, there wasn't any debris on track. Usually before, at the start of, I think it was last season, season 8, where you'd see drivers purposely stopping on the track and just waiting for the safety car to come out. You had two drivers in different points of the circuit, meaning two yellow flag zones bringing out the safety car. Because there was only one yellow flag zone, and there wasn't any debris out on track, that might have been the reason why the safety car did not come out. Looking at my maths on what we had so far, I think with one virtual safety car turning into a safety car, sometimes that counts, sometimes that doesn't. So we are on the verge and we need a bit of a miracle, but it has to happen soon for Tom as the laps are running out, as the safety car cannot come out in the final 2 laps of the race. So Tom needs it, and he needs it now.
Yeah, starting to sit down at the bar of the Last Chance Saloon, really, is Tom Beener now. At the venue where he won his championship back in season number 3. He has 3 victories to his name, but with the situation that is currently arising, it is incredibly unlikely that he'll make that 4 victories in the Creator Series on lap number 44. And if you just saw that, I don't know what you would call it, the AWS kind of tyre insight that we had on the right-hand side about a lap ago, said that Tom's tyres, which have done 30-plus laps, we're only on about 38%, I think was the highest percentage I saw. So the deg is traditionally quite low here at Saudi Arabia. But if that is the case, then Kareem and Alex Gillen will be absolutely fine making it to the end of this race.
Yeah, they're looking in a pretty good spot where that graphic pops up. Some drivers in the highlight that are having a fantastic races. Scott Taylor up in 7th, Ricky, my teammate, in 8th. F1 Alex, a driver who usually is out of the race, DNF and put himself in the wall. He's in 9th position, just been overtaken by his faster teammate, and has dropped down into P10 as we're watching this battle between 2 championship contenders, Karim and Team at Marduk, going wheel to wheel. Momentarily lost the footage there, but we're back as Team at Marduk on the outside, Karim on the inside, both leaving each other a lot of room. And Ben playing the championship game there would seem to leave a lot of room. I think
he outbroke himself.
For Karim. Potentially, yeah, outbroke himself. Went very wide on the corner, but didn't go too deep. And has actually handed position there to his biggest rival, Alex Gillen, who is in 4th place, which is not what Team at Marduk would have wanted. Went from a fight from the front, and maybe that's what we were saying, a small, the tiniest amount of front wing damage for Team at Marduk, plaguing him in this race. But we believe earlier that former Karim had some as well. So Karim getting the better of him at the moment, and now looking on the charge of Tom and GB.
Yeah, and Alex Gillen with front wing damage as well. That's one drive we didn't pick up. Had a little bit of his front wing, missing that right-hand end plate that we now have confirmed there. And Tim Malik, I think, is probably in better shape than Kareem and Alex Gillen in front. Less damage and better tyres at this stage. Kareem also with that 3-second penalty. But there are drivers in this leading quintet that also are sitting perilously close to picking up a 3-second corner cutting penalty. As the gaps are starting to open up a little bit. GB starting to stretch his legs maybe out in front. That gap did get up to 0.8 of a second, but with the DRS flaps being open, it is all going to start to converge on itself once more, and halving the gap between first and second place. Tom is most definitely just going to the end now and praying that we do see a late safety car, but he is very much running out of laps. And if he wants to pick up some points for Alpine in their belated Constructors' Championship bid, which I can tell you is not going to happen one bit, he might just keep doing this, keep going for pride, perhaps, as Scott Taylor gets back ahead of Ricky 03. 2 drivers having an outstanding race. Scott with a 3-second penalty, battling away with Infratic in there as well. The Kicks Albers trading places, just nestled inside the top 10, although Razinchai and Meraki closing on them at an alarming rate of knots. Those 2 drivers as well, they've got the strategy severely wrong. Yes, Razin made that mistake, but Meraki just didn't seem to have the race pace, went for the alternate strategy and finds himself mired down in 12th.
I think, to be fair to him, I think he was forced to it. He had that front wing damage caused by Razin earlier on in the race, and both of them have just been, I guess, working together with each other to get back through the field. Zafsa as well, plagued with internet issues and front wing damage, down in 13th. What could have been for him? Once again, another race where strong race pace, but unfortunately an incident, a little bit of luck here and there has taken him out of it. Alex Gillen scrapes the wall on the outside. I think he might have just about got away with a little bit of front wing damage on the right-hand side there, as they'll be hunting down Formula Karim now. With Team in Marduk only 2 tenths behind in P5. Scott Taylor, Ricky and Infratic having their own little battle for P6, with Scott carrying that penalty. So it looks like Ricky and Fabio will be looking to sort themselves out for 6th position. Highest Williams result, I believe, from the full-time drivers is 6th position, which was myself in USA. So Ricky looking to match that in this race today, as Team at Marduk at the back of this train. No change between these guys. They've seemed to calm it down a little bit, maybe just getting prepared for the final few laps. As note, we do have a little bit of a change. Tom moving up into the lead of the race, GB into 2nd, and Alex getting very close to the back of Formula Karim.
Yeah, just throwing that defensive shape down into turn number 1 because Tiamat Marduk was looking very menacing in the rear-view mirrors of that V-Cub car. Razin Shai returns to the top 10, getting ahead of F1 Alex, with Formula Kai, who does have damage as well after that little half spin in the kerfuffle, let's say, that we saw about 10 or so laps ago through turns 1 and 2 that wiped out half the front wing of about 6 or 7 drivers. Kai also, insult to injury, picks up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Like I said as well, a lot of drivers in this leading group with 2 warnings, and they've got to be very, very careful indeed. And things have just become a little bit staccato, haven't they, in the last 5 laps or so. It's a leading group of 5, but Kareem, with that 3-second penalty, is not going to win the race. Tom is also not going to win the race because he's going to get disqualified. So it's down to GB, Alex Gillen and Tiamat Marduk. And Gillen hasn't really looked particularly interested in getting ahead of the McLaren in front, probably because he wants Kareem to win the championship over Ben.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And I think he's going to be a great driver to be in the middle between these two. But maybe if he really wants that, he needs to back off and hold the gap as GB overtakes Tom. And these two are just going to be working with each other because GB, best tyres of anybody on par with Tiamat Marduk in this top 5. But if we are suspecting that Tiamat Marduk has slight front wing damage, GB's in the best spot in this race. Tom, as you said, will have to pit, so he's out of it. Karim's out of it with that penalty. So it's between those 3 and GB in the best spot. But here they go, 3 wide, down in towards the first corner. Karim on the inside, backs out of that one. Tom on the outside. It's going to get squeezed, but Karim makes contact with GB as GB leaves room for Tom on the inside of the corner. Tiamat Marduk now having a look on his championship rival, backs out of that one, knows he's got a championship, knows that his rival has a 3-second time penalty, and knows that all he has to do is stay behind him, and he will gain points and take that championship lead back. As Tiamat Marduk and Karim separated by 1 point going into this race, thanks to the intermediates pole that he achieved. There is a yellow in Sector 1. Formula Kai out of this race. This will be confirmation if there is no more safety cars, and because we're on lap 48, there is not. Meraki's doing donuts, so he wants to inspect, make sure that Kai's okay. No, I think those two actually came together because we saw that Razin Shai and Meraki were catching up to Formula Kai. They were having a battle. Kai's come off worse for it, and these two are scrapping out as well. Karim and Tiamat Marduk go wheel to wheel. One of them was off the circuit.
Yeah, Kareem falling off the racetrack, and Ben starting to get his elbows out now and potentially just trying to put a marker down on his main championship rival, and the reigning champion passes the championship leader and up into 4th place now. Kareem, with that 3-second penalty, older tyres and a bit of front wing damage, finally falls to the back of this leading quintet. He's comfortably ahead of Infratic in 6th place. That gap nearly at 7 seconds. As we go on to the penultimate lap of the race, Alex Gillen suddenly looks like, well, a decent shout to try and pick up a win in this Grand Prix. He's been quiet over the last couple of weeks, hasn't attended all the races. As we cut the beam to start 49, 2 laps to go in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, 2 laps to go in the penultimate round of season number 9. Kareem having a look back up the inside of Ben down into turn number 1. They've had a couple of flashpoints so far in this race. This one comes off in favour of Tiamat Marduk, who holds station in 4th for the time being. Both of them, are they going to play it sensibly, or are they going to, well, potentially try and throw their championship into the nearest bin they can find? 1 point between them as it stands in favour of the reigning champion.
And it will end like this, even with the penalty that Karim has, because there's a 7-second gap between him and Infratic. So these are the live championship points, as we can see right now. There is a yellow out on track, and Melanie is about to overtake Formula Kai, unless she's put it in the wall. Melanie can overtake Formula Kai. She has, but she is still going. She can overtake Formula Kai's broken car and claim a point if she can just bring it home. She is within the percentage to be classified as well, so she just has to overtake Formula Kai's car and will get a point in this race for the Williams team. So she just needs to get through that first sector, back to the lead battle. Alex Gillen is in third. There's yellow again. Somebody else is in the pit lane. I believe that's Meraki, who's coming out the pits as well after getting front wing damage from that collision with Formula Kai. Eyes to the front then. It's Tom who leads GB and Alex Gillen. Will Tom be disqualified, or are we both wrong on the tyres? Let's find out.
6 kilometres just about to go as GB snatches the lead back from Tom Bina into the final corner of the penultimate lap of this 50-lap Grand Prix. And now we're going to see the big moment. Is Tom going to have the hammer thrown down? And yes, he is. Failed to use required tyre compounds. He is gone, thrown into the shadow realm as Alex Gillen coming out of nowhere like a tracer bullet into turn 1. Kareem was way too late on the brakes. 3 into 1 is not going to go either. Alex Gillen's been afforded the opportunity to scamper off into the distance. He was up the inside of GB. Formula Cream chucked the McLaren up the inside as well. More contact between the Aston Martin and the Papaya McLaren car. And Tierman Mark has been able to slide through up into second place as well. I think Kareem was maybe a little bit desperate there down into turn number 1. He's been bulletproof so far this season, shown no signs of thinking about the championship battle. But I think there he was just a little bit over-ambitious and maybe ended GB's chances of winning this race as well.
2 race weekends in a row. Tom Biener picks up a disqualification. Tierman Marduk up into second place. He's going to take points back from his championship rival, and he's going to take back the championship lead going into the final race weekend of season 9. Only a few corners left to go. He's just got to keep it nice and tidy, but can he take the win away from his closest rival, Alex Gillen? Only one more DRS straight left to go. Let's find out who wins this race.
Who would have thought it? Box office between Alex Gillen and Tierman Marduk. Formula Cream still fighting for pride. GB shuffled down from first into fourth. What order are we going to be in by the time we get to the braking zone of turn number 27? We're in the same order. GB lunges the inside, trying to snatch second place away from Tierman Marduk. But as we exit the final corner, go Gillen go is what he says. He's charging towards the line and returning to the top step, just about ahead of his nearest rival. The sparring partners finished first and second. Gillen ahead of Tierman Marduk. GB running off the podium, and Formula Cream paying a heavy price for that 3-second penalty over the line in fourth place. Infratic returns to the top 5. Brilliant drive from Riccio 3 as well. Razin, damage limitation after that mistake, that big blunder down into turn number 1 about halfway through. He comes home in 7th place. Scott Taylor, F1 Alex and Safso will round out our top 10. And that guy Vince just missing out 6 seconds worth of penalties. He's going to fall behind Nick Flies. It has not been the race that the season 4 champion would have been asking for either. If his championship hopes weren't over coming into this Grand Prix, they most certainly are now. Started from pole, got shuffled back early on, and is going to come across the line in a very unlucky position, number 13. And I think it'll be, well, worthwhile sticking on board here because his reaction might be quite telling.
Yeah, he's not going to be happy with that one. Melanie, though, will come round the final corner and will take home 2 points for the Williams team. Yes, this is what we love to see for Williams. An extra 2 points, about the same amount of points that I probably would have scored in that car as well. So well done to Melanie, taking home 2 points. Kai, as he did finish within the percentage, will be classified in P15 and will get a point as well for this race, despite getting the DNF. But what an incredible race that was. Right at the front, we had battles galore. We had chaos in the midfield. Couple of disqualifications. We had donuts in the middle of the race from the Ferrari of Nogueira. But here's that driver right there, Alex Gillen, who wins the race from his closest friend and rival, Tierman Marduk, who finishes in second. GB takes home third from 17th on the grid. Fantastic drive from the Aston Martin driver. Karim in fourth, with Infratic up into P5. Ricky, hats off to my teammate. Best result for Williams from the full-time drivers this season. In P6, Razin, good comeback drive twice in 7th place. Scott Taylor 8th. Alex, F1 Alex, fantastic drive from him to be P9 for the Kick Sauber. Safso, disappointing to finish 10th with Nick Flies in 11th. Strong points for McLaren in their constructors fight as well. That guy Vince, disappointing for him in the Aston Martin P12. Meraki as well from pole to 13th. Then Melanie in 14th. Then our DNFers were Kai, Dale, Adam Sanderson and Lolin Noba, with our 2 disqualifications, Tom and Nogueira.
Go, Gillen, go. And Gillen was certainly good, wasn't he? Coming through at the end, stealing it. It didn't necessarily fall into his lap at the end, but the 3 drivers he was battling with most certainly tripped over each other on the final lap of the race. And Alex Gillen just sliding through, sneaking through, kept his head. I think that was the most important thing when quite a few others in that leading group showed signs that they were potentially losing. And Gillen staying calm and coming through to pick up his first win since race 2 at Miami. What's that, 7 races ago?
Yeah, not only was he fast out on track, he was fast in the interview waiting room. So we're going to be getting our race winner in as soon as we possibly can. And here he is, Alex Gillen, from a drive-through and a jump start midweek in PSGO F2 to the race win in Saudi Arabia in Creative Series. How are you feeling after that one?
just had to bring it up, didn't you? You just had to, you saw Roy win and you're like, nah, let's bring it back down. Nah, seriously, I'm buzzing with that. That was a really fun race. I played a few games today. I was trying to race people how they raced me, and I was trying to predict what they were going to do, and it was quite good fun for the first half. But then a little bit of carnage, couldn't really avoid it. So got a little bit of wing damage, 15 laps to go, and then from there I was like, okay, let's forget the games. We go full sweat from here. Super difficult to get through, special wing damage. But yeah, we take it. Bit of carnage on the last lap, and no one wanted to overtake everybody because DRS is so powerful here, but we get it. My last race of the season as well. I'm doing the London Marathon next weekend, so my last race of the season, my last Creative Series race of F124, and we pick up the dub. Let's go, I'm buzzing.
A proper endurance race next week then for you. I just want to touch upon incredible battling from yourself. You said a moment ago that you were racing people how they race you, but with Tom, the racing standards between you and him through turn 4 and 5, great respect between the both of you, not pushing each other off the track, not putting each other into the wall, and not making contact at all. So incredible racing. That's what it looked like from us at the front. A lot of drivers giving respect, apart from a few small incidents here and there. Was that the same what you saw at the front as well?
Honestly, I don't know. There was definitely quite a few incidents, but, you know, there was lots of games, but that's what Creative Series is all about, right? Like, you know, what were we, like 4 wide at points? There was about 7 or 8 cars covered by about a second. Like, that's what Creative Series is all about, right? Creating those crazy moments. If we're all just nose to tail like they are in league races and esports, then, you know, go watch that. We're making some different stuff. So I don't know. I didn't see anything massively wrong that anyone did. There was definitely some drama there, so I'm sure there may be some choice words from some drivers after the race. But from what I saw, yeah, it was super clean. And yeah, on Tom, awesome racing with him. You know, he literally said to me on the incident I had with Lolly, he said, personally, I'd have given room there. And I said, yeah, I would have too. And I think that was in both of our minds there, going through a corner side by side, that you should definitely not be side by side. But we were both like, I think I can trust this guy. And we did it twice as well. I don't know if you got both times. We did it twice and survived both times. So yeah, great fun. Awesome racing today.
Yeah, it was beautiful moves from the both of you. Ben nearly had a chance right at the end in the DRS zone into the final corner. Did you go a little bit slower than you normally would through that left-right there just to catch him off guard? Because he caught you up very quickly through there, and then you were able to get that launch away. Yeah,
it wasn't to catch him off guard. It was just all about straightening the exit. I knew I had the wing damage. It looked like from the previous few laps he was a little bit quicker than me. I know we had some damage as well, but I don't know how bad his damage was. So I think he was a little bit quicker. That whole last lap, I was saying, Ben's going to win. Ben's going to win. Ben's going to win because he was right there with DRS. But yeah, I just concentrated on the exit. I was like, all I can do here, just square it off, even though that's not a square off corner, square it off and just floor the throttle, get on the overtake immediately and just go. And it seemed to catch Ben off guard. He seemed to get a slightly bad exit. It was almost like a safety car restart, but obviously nowhere near as slow as that. So yeah, it seemed to work. Just floor the throttle on the exit, and I had just enough to stay ahead, but he was still right there at the line. So super close, but we get it. Let's go.
Anything from you, Tom?
I mean, I think we keep the positives coming because you're now the only person to win multiple Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. What is it about the circuit that seems to suit you so well?
I don't know. I've always said I don't suit flowing circuits in the past, but I guess lots of DRS, lots of ERS, quite tactical. I guess maybe I favour the tactical races a little bit more, possibly. I don't know. But yeah, I wasn't aware that I'd even won multiple, let alone the only driver to win multiple. So I'll absolutely take that. I think that makes me as well. You know me, I love my spreadsheets. I think that puts me second in the Olympic medal system with 3 wins. But I think Ben could still beat me in the finale and possibly GB as well. Yeah, Ben or GB, if they win the finale, they overtake me on that. Karim's leading that. And then the average points, which I'm gonna bring it up. I know no one cares. I'm gonna bring it up. Average points, which removes any bad attendance rounds. I've missed I think 4 races this season. I do lead those standings, so it's been a good season for me. The attendance needs to be better to actually win a title, but I'll take that. It has been an awesome season. I've enjoyed it. I've definitely taken it a bit more casually after the first couple of races, and it's been all the better for it. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed the racing too.
Maybe a bit casually after some antics in Silverstone, but we'll move past that. Thank you very much for racing today. Fantastic performance from you as well. We hope to see you back in season 10 on F125, and of course, best of luck next week doing the London Marathon.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Right, let's bring in our next driver then in P2 in this race. Team Marduk, actually, he's not in the interview rating room. He's let us down. He's not even there. So let's instead bring in our third runner. And let's bring in GB68. Fantastic performance from the Aston Martin driver. You started way down in 17th. You finished in 3rd. Hats off to you. What a comeback drive.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. I mean, I'm gutted with the final lap. Karim's just apologized to me just then in VC. I'm guessing you called it from your end, but just a shame that Alex drove great, and I had some really good battles with him as well earlier in the race, which I was loving on stream as well. But ultimately, just a shame that it's been costed by a mistake on that 50 from Karim. But yeah, especially as I didn't really understand it, because obviously that made Karim's life harder that Ben then jumped an extra position in the championship. Obviously, Ben should have finished P3, I mean, yeah, he got second in the end, so kind of cost him quite badly. But yeah, happy with my race. I mean, I wasn't bothered with quali. I was having a good laugh. Me and Razin chopping our wheels off turn 4. Whatever, it happens.
Yeah,
it was good fun. No, we were laughing it off in VC. It was great. I was just like, you know what? This is Jeddah. This is going to be chaos. There'll be safety cars. We just got to get the strat right and have some fun, make some moves.
Well, I think you got a spot on, especially with the timing with no more safety cars coming out as well. You and Ben having the youngest tire life of anybody in that chasing pack. So that was great to see from you guys as well. I've already told everyone at home that you will not be attending next week because you are away. So we will see you again instead on F1 25 for season 10. Are you more disappointed as well with that last lap because you just wanted to end the season and end F1 24 with a race win?
100%. That's probably why I'm the most disappointed, is I bigged this up that I felt really good today. Jeddah's a great track for me as well, pace-wise, always has been. And I was like, you know what? We're getting the win today. Don't care about quali. We're getting the win. We'll end on a high, and and then hopefully Vince can obviously bring it home in the next race for the constructors. But yeah, I mean, at least I know it wasn't my fault. I couldn't do anything different today. I drove really well, happy with it, nailed the strap, didn't get damaged in the end as well, because everyone was so closely bunched that I actually broke my wing. I think it was on the first stint. I was carrying damage for a while, because then when I boxed, I didn't fix my wing, so it was hurting me quite a lot trying to get through the pack initially. And then we kind of had to time the wing fix with losing positions on the better tires with Ben, and it just all worked out perfectly. So in hindsight, I generally don't think I could have done anything different today. It was good.
I think what we're hearing from you and Alex so far is I don't think there was a single driver out on track who didn't get at least front wing damage at some stage of the race. Jeddah always throws up this chaos. I think the most DNFs we've had is at Jeddah 9 in season 3. But now looking towards F1 25, what are your ambitions? What are your goals on that game? Is the championship charge the ideal goal, and is it a realistic goal for you, seeing as there are times where you do miss and your attendance potentially does let you down over a consistent driver like Ben, who doesn't have a life and shows up every single race?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed it, to be honest. I think all the way throughout this game cycle, I've had really good consistency. I've not won loads of races, fine, but I've had a lot of podiums. I don't know how many, but I've had a lot of podiums overall, and just good results. The pace has generally been there. Sometimes some unlucky races, so it's literally just continue that in 25. I have no idea what my attendance will be like. I mean, obviously we all have events and things happening around the start of the game cycle. It's a busy time for everyone, so I think it'll be spicy for sure, and I'm looking forward to seeing the hard tires coming back and just a bit of a little bit more variety as well. Obviously F1 24 has been great, and what the introduction of wildcards has been brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing what 25 brings with the game dynamics and extra strategies and things.
I feel like we've almost forgotten about this, but the wildcard, the fixed setup, how easy / difficult was the adaptation to running that default setup?
Quite easy, because the car, the default setup, it's usually bad on this game because it overheats the tires, but the default setup in every F1 game is designed for a casual player to pick up and generally just be able to drive a stable car. It's slow. I think I was looking at the quali times, and the pole position was, I was saying a high 26 prediction with the setup. So we were over a second off with those setups. You can clearly see that they're really slow, a lot of understeer. But to actually drive it, very easy. I think the difficulty is on the soft tires, because while we know they're a better tire, they overheat like crazy. I think the rear right was pushing 113 degrees in sector 1, which is ridiculous. So it made it really interesting. That's why I did the 2 soft tires, and I'm guessing that's why Ben did as well in the initial stages, was because the soft was just not gaining the pace from the overheating. So I thought, why not milk the medium? So but in a nutshell, default setup, or fixed setup, I suppose, easy to drive, not It was fun. The race was fun, but the setup itself was not fun to drive. So if any viewers or anyone watching, if you want to try the fixed setup in time trials or whatever, you'll see how horrible it is, how much understeer.
Thank you very much, GB. Congratulations on another podium this season. We'll miss you next week. Enjoy whatever you get up to, and we look forward to seeing you on F125.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Enjoy the finale.
Thank you. Right, let's get in. He's finally there. The driver who's in second place, Tiamat Marduk. In the Mercedes, the championship challenger. I appear to be on deafen. He's deafen. No, he's back. He's back. There he is. Never mind. He is here. There he is. Late for the interview room. GB stole your slot, but here we are anyway. Second place. Nearly a chance to get Alex Gillen right at the death there. He said he had to take a different line and had to open up the corner to maximise it. It looked like you caught him up a little bit. Do you think that was what cost you the race win?
Sorry, what incident are we talking about? There was so many.
The one at the last lap, the left-right chicane as you go onto the second to last straight. You caught up Alex maybe a little bit too closely through that corner, and that kind of compromised your run down in towards the straight.
Look, it was always an uphill battle because Karim was dead set on not ruining my race, but ruining any chances of gaining any more positions. Every chance he had to yeet battery, he was going for it. He was sending it like crazy. Yeah, maybe I could have like been a bit smarter and just saved battery really hard and then come out roses in the second half of the lap. In hindsight, maybe I'd do that, but to be honest, I can't be too upset with how things ended because at the end of the day, I got a P2 and I beat my championship rival. So that was my main objective today. So more than happy to take a P2.
And there was even a chance for you as well for a DNF on the run down to the first corner. I think you scraped the barrier on the inside after contact with Formula Kai. Yeah. That Mercedes is strong.
I literally just saw that. I knew it was close when it happened live, but I was like, oh, I looked at it just now and it was millimeters. I actually think I didn't touch it. It was on the way out of the corner that I then got bounced on by Kai again. That's where I got my damage. So, yeah, look, I think I've redeemed all my luck for this season, potentially. I'm just so happy to come out the other side alive.
You don't want to redeem all your luck going into the final race next week. Of course, you've got a championship battle not only in the drivers with Karim, but also the constructors still wide open between you, Mercedes. You got McLaren, your teammate sadly DNFing today, but McLaren still the fight is there, and Aston Martin just on the cusp in the fight too. Going into that finale, what are your thoughts? What's your plan? Your expectations?
I think just go in with an open mind. So many variables at play. We got the reverse grid sprints, a mystery track, no time to prepare or practice. Just I think really just take each corner as it comes and be prepared for anything like we saw today. So I think what we saw today is probably going to be a precursor for next week. And I feel like I generally kind of suit chaos races. I just seem to get through. So yeah, just try and survive and do my best. That's all you can do.
I ratted you out on the broadcast. I'm not going to lie. I told everyone that you were sweating on Friday night till 3 a.m. When you saw that it was fixed setups, what was your feelings after all that effort that you put in that night?
You know what? I was happy. I did more laps this week because I didn't really do any laps in Bahrain, and that cost me. So, but I think the fixed setups kind of saved me because I had a good setup that was suited for quali, but I didn't feel comfortable in the race at all. So, whoever made this the wild cards, you're the MVP, because I probably wouldn't have finished this high if we had normal setups.
Just going back to next week as well, obviously you're the only person that's got multiple championships. You can pick up a third. You'd also, if you won, be the only driver to win back-to-back championships. How much would it mean to you to get over the line and pick up that third title?
It would be awesome. It would be amazing. Coming into this, I didn't think I'd be challenging for the title, not with a wholesale equipment change. I thought there'd be some betting in and getting used to. And when you got the opportunity to win a championship, you've got to take it. So I'm going to do everything in my power to try and win it. Yeah, I'd be over the moon to do it. But there's a lot of racing yet to come.
Congratulations on another podium this season. We'll see you next week for the finale at the Mystery Grand Prix. You versus Karim, we're all very excited for that. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you then.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Right, we've got 2 more drivers waiting in the interview rating room. I think as he is a championship contender, let's bring in Karim. Let's have a little word with him. There was a little bit of controversy, I suppose, with a few of the incidents out on track, the collisions with him and Team at Marduk. Here he is now. Formula Karim, the championship is on the line. We've got 1 race weekend left to go. It's handed back over to Team at Marduk. What are your feelings after that race?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because obviously I got the 3 seconds, which to my knowledge was a double warning. But yeah, it was super hard racing today. There's still, of course, a massive chance going into the final race, but I'm just going to have to give it everything.
You've got 1 race left to go. Ben was saying that your goal after you got the 3-second time penalty was just to kind of, he felt at least, to hold him up and make sure that he didn't gain as much positions as he could to help you, of course, in the championship going into the final round. Are you going to be looking at similar tactics, playing the hunter again, or is it just I've got to push as hard as I possibly can and then we just see wherever Ben finishes?
Yeah, I think today after I got the penalty, that was definitely my plan, and it almost worked. But I guess I'm just gonna have to do the same into the final race. Of course, push flat out. You know, maybe if it's a track that I'm good at or a track where I can just, you know, try and break DRS or something like that, I'll try to do that. But if not, if Ben's quick, if he's in the fight, I will have to deploy some tactics. Let's just say that.
There's a chance as well for the Constructors' Championship. Nick scored some points today. Adam, Ben's teammate, didn't. He DNF'd. Is that something that would be a nice consolation prize if it doesn't go your way next week?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind any championship. Of course, the drivers is, you know, one that the drivers care about more. It's one that I care about more. But we'll see what happens. You know, I've been helping him out in quali with some slipstream after him helping me out in some races. So I'll do the same next race. I'll try and encourage him like I always do, and we'll just see where we end up.
And finally, thoughts on the wildcard for this week. I said we spoke to Ben just before you, and I ratted you out as well and said that you were practicing till 3 a.m. at least on Friday night. What was your thoughts when you saw the wildcard announced after all the effort that you had put in practice previously?
Well, I'll have you know, it wasn't that much effort. It may have been
yeah, sure. That's what you all say.
The GB event came in clutch, but no, I thought the wildcard was good. I thought the gaps became really small between everyone. I think everyone's pace was going to be quite close anyway, and the wildcard just made it that little bit closer. But yeah, the setup was of course understeery, but it wasn't difficult to drive. So it didn't really affect us that much. It just made us closer, which I guess is good for the racing. And I think that showed in the racing, to be honest, because we were going for overtakes like crazy.
Just on next week as well, the reigning F2 champion walked away with that last season. You would be the only person to win F1 and F2 championship. If you were to get over the line, how much would that mean to you?
It would mean something, of course. I don't know. I came into this season not really thinking about the championship, to be honest. I was just happy to be here, happy to have fun. And then a few races in, you know, some people say, oh yeah, Karim's going for the title. So then you sort of start thinking about it a bit, and then you win a few races and you're like, oh, maybe I should, you know, push a little bit harder. And at this point, yeah, it would be really nice to win the championship. But at the end of the day, it's just a good thing that we have a very close championship to the final round, because it's been a few seasons and I think the fans will appreciate a tight battle. It was a tight battle today, close battle with Ben, and I'm sure it will be the same next week. So I'm just looking forward to that.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations on 4th. Whilst it might not have been the position that you wanted compared to your championship rival, there is still 1 race to go, and of course a sprint race weekend as well. So all is to play for. Good luck, of course, for next week, and we will see you then.
See you then, guys. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you very much. Right, that is all of our drivers that have been waiting in the interview room. We're going to take a look at the driver stands. Before we get into that, I want to talk to everyone in the chat. All of the drivers, we're all friends amongst ourselves at home. Please be respectful to all of the drivers that are in the field. The moments that happen out on track, that's all they are. Moments on track, we're all friends out of it. So please be as respectful as possible. Let's take a look at the drivers' standings then. It is Tiamat Marduk who leads the way once again. Whilst he was toppled for the first time since Season 8 Round 1, he's back there again. 3 points, though, is the gap between those two. And it has gone from, mathematically, a 4-horse race down to a 2.
And it's the 2 we were expecting, wasn't it? From a while ago, Tiamat Marduk, the reigning champ, going for 3 championships overall. With 3 seems to be the magic number, isn't it? 3-point advantage over Kareem. Still an opportunity for Meraki to finish third with GB and Alex Gillen absent. But it will be Mercedes versus McLaren. Same engine in the back of the cars. And it'll be those 2 drivers that we'll be mainly focusing on. But there is obviously the Constructors battle as well, which I think is still pretty close.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Constructors battle now. Has it been updated? And it has. Gareth, he's done the work behind the scenes. Thankful always to the production that Gareth supplies to the broadcast. Mercedes lead the way over Aston Martin. McLaren in third, only 1 point separating second and third. It's a slightly bigger gap. It's 6 points between Aston Martin and Mercedes, but it is all to play for between the top 3. We've got a sprint race weekend, and of course, that means more points are going to be available in the Mystery Grand Prix. We won't know what the track is until before the race happens. So it is going to be a very exciting one nonetheless. So all is to play for across both championships going into the final race. And we, for one, are very excited for that. Tom, thank you for joining me on the broadcast today. Your final thoughts on today's race?
Can't wait for next week. First title decider that we're going to have since, I think, on this game, in fact. Season 7 and Season 8, we didn't necessarily have a battle going into the last race. Couldn't really be any closer. The 2 fastest drivers on the grid going for it in that final race. And the added element of we don't know what's going to be happening. We don't know the track. We've got a sprint race involved, reverse championship order. Should be a classic.
And finally, one more thing for you. Your driver of the day.
I never like to give it to the race winner. So I'm sorry, Alex Gillen, if you are watching. You're not going to be getting it. I think it's between 2. GB's one of them. Came through from 17th on the grid to finish on the podium. Obviously got to be in the conversation. But there are other drivers in there as well, you know. Fabio had a really good day. I think he finished P5 in the end. F1 Alex as well, started sort of 14th or 15th, coming through to finish inside the top 10. I think he got caught up in an instant as well. So if he did have damage from that, then that's a very good performance from himself as well. It's tough.
I think I'll
tough.
take F1 Alex for you and agree with you on that one. Starting 14th, finishing in 9th. He's a driver that has really struggled in his first full-time season in F1. A lot of DNFs, top of the Constructors Championship with 7 DNFs this season. But to be up there, keep it consistent at a track that it is so easy, as we saw Lonanoba do, so easy to knock off your front tyre. To keep it clean throughout the whole time and bring it home in P9, you know what? I'm happy to join you on F1 Alex. So whilst Alex Gillen doesn't get it, he gets the race win. We hand it to a different Alex.
Yeah, we do. And we're just hearing from Scotty Designs, the legend Scotty Designs, who's been helping out with the broadcast, that he turned his assists off today as well. So if that is the case, that probably confirms it for us that it will be F1 Alex.
Yeah, maybe it was long overdue to turn off those assists if it's made him a more consistent and better driver. But fair play to F1 Alex. That is the end of today's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Thank you everyone at home for joining us. We go into the final race weekend next week, and it is a mystery Grand Prix with all to play for. 3 in the hunt for the Constructors Championship, but the one that you're watching, the Drivers' Championship, there's 2. It's Tiamat Marduk and Formula Karim. Which one of those will come out on top? You'll have to join us next week. Thank you, of course, to Tom Wilkinson joining me in the commentary box. Thank you to Scotty Designs on the clips, and of course Gareth Allen for doing the broadcast. We'll see you next week. Have a great evening.